If you hear me, sorry about that. I had something unplugged, man. Somebody was on my computer earlier. How we now? How we now? You guys hear me now? What up, world peace? Any sound now, gentlemen? Do you hear me now? I just did put it on. It was my fault. How about now? All right. Thank you so much. Yeah, I had the damn microphone unplugged. Somebody was using my computer earlier, probably one of the kids. All right. Yeah, so I was asking Devin and Brian, you guys are part of my WNBA stuff. How did you guys pan out last night with the WNBA, Brian and Devin? And World Peace. The World Peace, did you play WNBA last night? Gary stuttered. Nice to see you. Henry Boyd, nice to see some of my WNBA people in here, man. I appreciate you guys coming out, taking a look at the NFL. Hopefully you guys took a look at the video, which was late, but I did put it up yesterday. Brian James, I saw. Yeah, it was terrible. I went with a lot of Washington, man, and they definitely, oh man, it was just brutal. Devin, you didn't play, man. Good for you. You saved yourself some money for tomorrow's NFL. What's up, Max? Yeah, I know. WNBA, man, it's really much a crapshoot. It's pretty much every sport could be a crapshoot, but WNBA really tough to land, especially in a one-game slate. So I mean, thank goodness that that's done. I'm not playing any more WNBA one-game slates. I think Seattle is in good shape to win the championship, so we'll just worry about them doing that for the time being. Let's just now focus our time into the NFL. So anyway, it's a few people in here now. Glad to see some of my WNBA people in here, man. I appreciate your guys' support, of course, during the WNBA season, and I hope to have your support as well during the NFL. The NFL is definitely new to me. I mean, it's not new to me. I've been a fan for over 35 years. I actually played the game throughout high school and everything. So, I mean, I am a little bit of a veteran. But at the same time, man, I'm fairly new to fantasy sports as far as playing on Fanduel and Draftkings. For those who are new viewers, I've been playing only about 3 years. I've had some pretty good success, especially in the NFL as well as the NBA. They're my two best sports. I do a lot of statistical analysis. I definitely look at almost every possible stat I can look at to make decisions. And Henry, and as well as Brian James and all the other guys that are here, World Peace and Gary, that have actually been out to my WNBA, they can actually attest to that I make every effort possible to give you guys the best possible information, and it's not going to be no different here in NFL. And what I want everybody to understand, for people that are new watching me, is that I basically do everything according to the way I normally do things for myself. So when I'm sharing stuff with you guys, I'm basically looking at those same players myself. I'm not doing all that research for myself not to share it with you guys, but at the same time not utilize those same players. So definitely you will, get that information the same way. It's not going to be no different. It's for me as well as for you guys. All right, so enough of that. So going into tomorrow's slate, man, I discussed in my video yesterday actually, when I put it up, I did discuss what I thought were my best possible plays, at least in my opinion. Of course, everybody that's on YouTube and doing a channel, they're giving you their best honest opinion on what may be the best possible plays, and it's no different here. So I gave you some pretty decent players. I started with quarterbacks, and I told you that I was pretty much on. Let me just open up the window here. I'm going to utilize Fanduel mostly because I am very much comfortable there. For the people that know me, they know I love to use the Fanduel as I do videos. But I will pop in there time to time and do DK. I will share with you guys DK as well as Fanduel prices, so this way you'll have an idea. But at quarterback, I did tell you guys my favorite guys were Drew Brees. I definitely think he's in a great spot, obviously. I also mentioned that I was all over Andy Dalton. I think he's in a great matchup as well, and I shared with you why, the reasons why. And I also said that my third best choice was Blake Bortles. I think he's in a good spot as well. But looking at the slate a little bit further, there are a couple nice other plays that you guys could consider as well. Here on the lower tier here, not so much lower tier, but at 6,300, Case Keenum is a good possible play. I mentioned him yesterday. I wanted to look at him a little bit further, and I think he's in a good spot. I mean, 67% completion percentage last year. And again, all statistics that I'm reading are based on last year or any previous year as far as experience versus that particular opponent. So that I keep in mind. Just keep in mind that as the season progresses, like I've said in WNBA and NBA, we will get more of a gauge or an understanding of where the coaches are going with their players. But on football, the beauty about football is that we pretty much know who are the starters bearing any injury. We know that those guys are going to play, and they're going to play a lot of downs. And the only thing we want to know is who are going to come in to be in passing situations or in coverages. And that's basically it. That's the only difference. Other than that, most of the 11-player squad on both sides of the ball are going to be pretty much the starters throughout. So as soon as we understand there are some players that are rookies, we're looking at those guys during the course of the first few weeks, like a Patrick Mahomes. We want to see how well he plays for a couple of weeks before I can actually say he may be a great play. Now, he is athletically a good possible play tomorrow. But I am going to probably wait. I'm going to wait on Patrick and see how well he does in his first few games. But Case Keenum, I definitely like. I also like that he's pretty good in the red zone. And he's coming off a very, very good season, probably the best season of his career. He was playing on a very good team. He's coming to a team that is a little subpar, but Denver does have some potential. He does have some weapons, which it helps. He does still have Sanders. He has Mr. Thomas in the backfield. He has a nice young kid, second-round pick, Royce Freeman, who is now, I think, going to be the starter there. And then you also have Devontae Booker coming off, probably come down in short yardage situations. He's pretty good with that. So he's going to have some people that he can work with there. I think the tight end is probably an area maybe they may need a little bit more help, but I think he's going to be fine. And right now, so far, and at least in the preseason from the highlights I saw, he seemed to build a nice little connection with Emmanuel Sanders. So I could see Sanders also as a wide receiver in tomorrow's slate as someone to watch out or to pair up with Case Keenum. But Case Keenum, I think he's definitely someone that everyone should consider. He is inside the 20, he has 233 yards, 33 out of 50, 60% completion, 16 TDs in the red zone. And he has zero interceptions, which I always love to see in a quarterback, especially in the red zone. Is he capable of dealing with the pressures of trying to get this team in the end zone? This gentleman had no issue with that last year. 15 of 26 inside the 10, 54%. His completion percentage went down a little bit more, but he had still 58 yards and 11 TDs. So out of the 16, when he got inside the 10, he was able to nail down 11 of those. So he is very, very efficient, and he looks like he was very, very good in the red zone, which is important in football. You want a quarterback to get down there and make things happen in those scoring situations. So I like Case Keenum. I think another guy that you can also consider who I really, really like as a quarterback. I mean, he's a tough guy, and he plays so well, and he's been in such good competitive games throughout his career, is Mr. Alex Smith. Love Alex Smith here as well, man. I think he could be a possible nice play tomorrow as well. 6,900, a little pricey here, but again, not too. And on DK, he's priced much better, 5,600 on DraftKings, and he has a couple little weapons here. Definitely had better weapons last year with Hill and with Kareem Hunt and all that, and Mr. Kelsey as a tight end. But he still has a couple of nice weapons here. So Alex Smith last year, his completion percentage 67.5%, which I really love. What I like also, he had 26 touchdowns, and he's a guy that doesn't turn over the ball a whole lot. 5 interceptions in the entire year. Okay, that is fantastic. And he's facing a team in Arizona against quarterbacks. They gave up over 3,796 yards, gave up 24 interceptions, which was the 14th worst in the league. And when you see those kind of numbers against the defense, and Arizona, not a bad team defending against the run, but they definitely struggle a little bit against the pass. They're 21st in the league in defense as far as pass defense. So those are the concerns for me. Also in the red zone, a little bit not as consistent. Arizona defending in the red zone. They gave up 13 touchdowns there, 44% completion percentage, and they even got worse as they got closer. 10 touchdowns within the 10, inside the 10, and a 50% completion ratio. So there are good possibilities here for Alex Smith. And what I like also is that he has 2 tight ends. This Washington last year used that 2 tight end base a lot with Mr. Jordan Reed as well as Vernon Davis. Vernon Davis is someone he knows very, very well. They both came into the league together through San Francisco, and they actually had some very good years connecting and playing ball there. So that also helps him as well. So Alex Smith, I think, is another fine play for tomorrow. I think those are the 2 best guys other than the 3 I gave you yesterday. I think those are the best additional players that I looked at over the course of the last few hours, and I feel that I really feel comfortable with those guys. When we go to let me just go. What I would like to do is I would like to shoot out every possible play that I think additionally that I want to add from yesterday's video. At the same time, what I want to also share is possible team stacks here. You know, team stacks, gaming stack, no different in the WNBA, no different in Major League Baseball, no different in the NBA. But again, a large slate. For those who are not too, not familiar with it, in a large slate like this, you could definitely mix it up. You could probably just go with a team stack of just 2 players, and then build around that. There's no problem with that. There are games here that I think that you could possibly even do a game stack, and you can actually get 4 or 5 players within the 2 teams. There are a couple of games that are very high scoring potential games here. Those are games that you want to target. Obviously, the lower scoring games are good targets is a good tip to focus on some defenses, for your lineups when you have those low scoring games. Definitely like Baltimore is a good bet tomorrow for me, at least in my eyes. Baltimore, definitely I like tomorrow as one of those defenses. I also like New Orleans because I think they're going to be in a position to really take a big lead in this game. And I could just see them going all over and getting those additional points, pressurizing Mr. Ryan Fitzpatrick. So, but I'll touch on that a little bit more. But as far as running backs, as far as running backs going into tomorrow, there's a couple of guys that I think I gave you guys Kamara, as you know, David Johnson. Those are monsters. Like I said in my video, man, I'm one of those when it comes to games like this. I'd rather pay down a little bit at quarterback. I won't go extremely cheap, but definitely like mid-tier. Someone that's definitely got the potential to have a tremendous upside. Is capable of probably putting up 2 or 3 touchdowns in a given game and almost as much as 300 yards. Is definitely a good possible. But I also love, as I said in my video, I love quarterbacks that are dual threat. So I mean, I'm just partial to those kind of quarterbacks. There's nothing wrong with the drop back passer, like the Peyton Mannings of the past and so on and so forth. Eli Manning, who's more of a pocket passer. These guys like that, there's no problem with that. But nowadays, the football is just like that. Basketball has changed so much, and I think with football, we're going towards that, or we already have been there for the last maybe 5 or 6 years, 7 years, where there's the dual threat quarterback is something that everybody wants. So I mean, I can see these guys really being dominant over the course of the next few years. All these young kids that are coming in here and are dual threat quarterbacks. But when you can't get one, you definitely have to look at the best possible choices. So when I'm running back, is no different for me. I love those dual threat running backs. And as you know, I already told you, Kamara is in a good spot. Johnson is in a good spot. And then all these guys here are all dual threat running backs. Elliott, Mr. Gordon had an awesome year last year for the Chargers. Kareem Hunt, I loved him. I played him multiple times last year. He came through, considerably well for me. Fournette, even this young kid coming out of Penn State for the Giants, Shaquan Barkley, he's going to be one of those dual threat running backs as well. Christian McCaffrey, definitely in play as one of those guys too. But when I'm looking down here, I definitely like Joe Mixon tomorrow as a possible little play there. I think he's in a good spot as well. Indianapolis is really, really bad in both phases of in both sides of the ball defensively, as far as defending the pass as well as defending the rush. They're really pitiful right now. They didn't look too good either during the course of the preseason, but I don't base too much out of the preseason because obviously we're looking at a lot of different players during that time. At least the coaching staffs are. Coming down here a little lower, I think the other play that I like down here at the bottom, I like the rookie for Denver, who's going to more than likely be starting. $6K for him. Royce Freeman, obviously we don't know a whole lot about him, but he is definitely someone that you might want to consider as a sneaky play. I did tell you that I like Carlos Hyde in this situation. He was successful last year with the Niners. My next guy that I like, don't sleep on James White. I think White is definitely someone to consider as well. I'm also leaning towards Frank Gore a little bit too. Tennessee definitely is a good running stopping team. They were 4th in the league last year in stopping a run. But I can see where, Tennessee, they suffer with the pass. If Miami can get the running game going, or at least the passing game going, it'll free up Mr. Frank Gore. And I think Frank Gore, his numbers last year were just incredible. I mean, he was pretty darn good. Gore, 261 rushes, 961 yards, 3 TDs. All right. 60 yards per game. This is all with Indianapolis. Now remember, these numbers could have been better. He was playing for a horrible team. I mean, Indianapolis is terrible. And he's coming into a team that is actually a better front line, better running team. Overall last year, Miami finished fairly well across the board. So I think that he has a shot here to be a very sneaky surprise tomorrow at 5,300. And he's playing at home, in Miami. So 261 yards rushing, 961 yards, 3 touchdowns last year. He was averaging 60 yards per game. He also is one of those backs that can definitely receive the ball. He had 29 receptions, 245 yards. And he had 8 touchdowns. 8 yards per catch. So I really like him there. And the other thing that I like also is that as far as DK points for Tennessee, they did give quite a bit of fantasy points to these teams last year. All the running backs pretty much averaged 23.4 DK points at running back last year. I kind of like looking at those numbers as well. That looks pretty intriguing to me. And 19.9 fantasy points on Fanduel. So I mean, either or, any one of the sites, you're definitely going to gain some good points against Tennessee. When they've had their share of problems with running backs. I think Frank could be a little sneaky play. Other than that, I mean, Matt Breida here, playing over here for Minnesota with the injury, obviously real bad injury to McKinnon. It definitely helps. Definitely is a disappointment for San Francisco. They were really, really banking on him. But these things happen in the NFL. You never know. James Conner for Pittsburgh. I don't know. I know, I had a couple of buddies of mine talk to me about James Conner. I don't know. I'm not feeling him. I mean, he definitely is not Le'Veon Bell. And that's pretty much it as far as additional backs that I think are players that you should consider. As far as receivers, where I have my receivers. As far as receivers are concerned, I kind of like everybody I gave to everyone. I don't think I have any other player that I will consider. If you are going to consider anyone, like I did mention, Adam Thielen, I could see him pairing up well with Mr. Kirk Cousins, excuse me, with Kirk Cousins. I also like. Don't fall asleep on Doug Baldwin. He had a very good year last year. Seattle is going to be definitely, struggling this year defensively. I could see them also struggling a little bit offensively. It's going to be the Doug Baldwin, Russell Wilson show pretty much every week. So I expect him to get a lot of targets. Doug Baldwin and Russell Westbrook. I also like Michael Crabtree. Could be a possible sneaky play tomorrow. Watch out with Michael Crabtree in the Baltimore game. My next guy that I'm thinking of is Emmanuel Sanders. I mentioned Case Keenum. I definitely like Case Keenum, pairing him up as a team stack with Emmanuel Sanders. I think that might be a nice play for you guys. And my last guy that I'm thinking of is Mr. Paul Richardson Jr. with Alex Smith. So watch out for Paul Richardson Jr. and Alex Smith. I think that'll be a nice pairing as well. At tight end, the only ones that I'm thinking of adding to the list that I have, I definitely, as you guys know, I definitely love Kyle Rudolph here. And I could see him pairing up as a team stack with Kirk Cousins himself and throw in there Adam Thielen. You got a nice core there to start with tomorrow against San Francisco. They were like 23rd against the pass defense last year. And my next tight end that I think, Eric Ebron for Indianapolis, could be sneaky against Cincinnati. Watch out for that. They may want to dump a couple balls to him. I like Jesse James. I did mention him yesterday. Severian Jenkins as well. And watch out for those players for Mr. Alex Smith. I mentioned a few moments ago Alex Smith as a possible quarterback for tomorrow. Pair him up with Vernon Davis or possibly Mr. Jordan Reed. I think Jordan Reed will be starting. But they like to do that dual tight end sets. So be on the lookout for that. Mr. Vernon Davis should be able to get a couple passes as well. And that's pretty much it as far as there. And like I said, as far as defense, I definitely like Baltimore. I think Baltimore is the best bet tomorrow, man. It's just their numbers look too good. 12 overall in defense last year, 10th against the pass. Only gave up 214 yards per game. Had 18 TDs against them. That was the 6th fewest in the league. And they had 22 interceptions, which was number 1 in the league. They also were 12th in sacks. They had 41 sacks. And when you look at Buffalo 31st in passed offense. They only put up 177 yards per game, only had 16 TDs. That was the second fewest in the league. 47 sacks given up by that Buffalo offense. That was really horrific. That's pretty bad. Pretty bad. You know, so those numbers like that definitely draw a lot of attention to me. When you look at Baltimore, they're also 15th in the rushing defense. And Buffalo, even though Buffalo was number 6 in offense, their offense is pretty much all McCoy. And I feel that Baltimore will do everything they can. Their game plan is simple. It's just, you know, neutralize Mr. McCoy and put them in position to have Mr. Nathan Peterman try to get some offense with his arm. And I think that's when it's going to be a little bit dangerous. So Baltimore definitely in a fine spot tomorrow. Other than Baltimore, I love New Orleans as well, which I did mention briefly in yesterday's video. New Orleans pass offense was 5th in the league, and obviously intrigues me because Tampa Bay was terrible against the pass. You know, Tampa Bay last year, 261 yards per game, 22 TDs. It was the middle of the league. 13 interception, also in the middle of pack, not too bad. But they did give up 40 sacks. Rushing defense 23rd. 117.5 yards per game. It was the worst rushing defense as well, so they definitely are struggling in both areas. And they're going to have to go up there and battle against New Orleans that has a great running game and a pretty good passing game. So this is going to be it could be an ugly game, and more of an ugly game simply because, unfortunately, Tampa Bay doesn't have Jameis Winston. And Jameis Winston, the one game that they won last year against New Orleans, Jameis Winston played, and he had a very good game. Granted, that was the last game of the season, but nonetheless, and New Orleans didn't actually need to win, I believe. But Tampa Bay, without no Jameis Winston, and you have yourself Ryan Fitzpatrick back there, Fitzpatrick going up against that New Orleans defense, which was not a bad defense last year. Overall defense, I think they were like 10th in the league. 15th in the league, and they're projecting them to be like the 8th in the top 8 this year. So I mean, they are going to get better. So definitely a fine play for New Orleans as well. I think a little sneaky play with defenses tomorrow. You got to watch out for Cincinnati against Indianapolis. I think that could be a possible sneaky play there as far as a team. But when it comes to defenses for Fanduel, I mean, I really don't put a whole lot of pressure on it. I really just look for the defenses that are in low-scoring games and have upside to create a lot of interceptions, like Baltimore. Baltimore, 22 interceptions last year. That was number 1 in the league. That is fantastic, you know. So, and they're going up against a team that coughed up the ball quite a bit too. So, and you know, all numbers dictate pretty much more or less where you could go, especially if you pay down at quarterback and you pay up at running back in a situation like this, or even at wide receiver. You should still have enough room to maybe even nail down, even if it's chalky, a good defense. Why not? You know, I don't see that being a problem. As far as so before I start looking at some possible questions or anything, as far as game stacks and team stacks, I think there's a couple good game stacks to me. You think about Houston and New England, that's a possible good game stack. That game should be high scoring. I think another game that will be a good one to target, Kansas City and the Chargers. Those two teams do put up quite a bit of points. And I can see Washington and Arizona. Washington and Arizona could possibly be another game that's going to be fairly high scoring. So I am leaning towards those 3 teams, those 3 games as possible game stacks, meaning you can get about 4, possibly 5 players out of there. And you don't have to go with that strategy. You know, you could, like I said, you can go with just a regular team stack. You come team stack. If you're going to focus on a team stack, especially, let's say, like I said, Houston, New England, if you just, some of the best team stacks right off the bat to me. Houston, definitely Hopkins with Watson. I mean, that's like pretty much a no-brainer if you're going to stack somebody in Houston. In New England, you could go with either Hogan with Brady or Brady with Gronkowski, probably Gronkowski, but Hogan is definitely someone in play. When you think about New Orleans, you definitely want Mr. Thomas with Mr. Breeze. Minnesota, I could see Kirk Cousins. I could see a nice 3-player stack in Minnesota with Cousins, Allen Thielen, or Mr. Diggs, either or, and then throw in there for sure Mr. Rudolph. And you got Kyle Rudolph there. You got a tight end that definitely is very, very good in the red zone. Minnesota definitely gets in the red zone pretty much a few times a game. Then you got Pittsburgh, Cleveland. Not too fond of anybody there, but obviously, the obvious choices would be Roethlisberger with Brown. I think Cleveland is going to be definitely a much better team this year. Like I said in my video yesterday, I'm going to say it here live. They're not going to go 0-16. I mean, this team pretty much almost beat Pittsburgh twice last year without the offense they have now. So imagine if this offense start clicking early on. So I would not be at all surprised if Cleveland wins this game tomorrow. I would not be at all surprised. No Le'Veon Bell. Roethlisberger has to go back there and really throw maybe 30 passes or more. It could be a tough game for them. Plus, the weather conditions are not that good going into tomorrow for Cleveland, at Cleveland. Pittsburgh, okay, and over here, Tennessee, Miami, I'm not too fond of anybody there as far as stacking. Buffalo, Baltimore, definitely Baltimore. A nice little sneaky team stack. How about Flacco with Crabtree? Or Flacco, Crabtree, and maybe even throwing in the running back, Alex Collins. I think because I like Alex Collins in this game. But I would not be at all opposed to anybody thinking Flacco with Collins as well as throwing in there Mr. Crabtree. In the Cincinnati-Indianapolis game, I love this stack. I would definitely consider having Dalton with John Ross as well as AJ Green. I think that's definitely something that you can definitely consider. Jacksonville, another one, is probably going to be low-owned stack. You can go with Bortles, with Keelan Cole, and even throw in there maybe Westbrook, or throw in your tight end, man, Severius Jenkins. And now you have yourself a nice 3-player. You definitely want to stack your quarterback with a receiver or a tight end or both. Running back, I have done it. There's nothing wrong with it. And the game stack, I wouldn't mind, especially if I really feel good about the game being fairly close and competitive and high scoring. You could go with a running back as well as a quarterback and a receiver stack. But that's normally not the case. Normally, we wouldn't want to go that way. Kansas City and the Chargers. This is a game here that I really like as far as a game stack, and you have players here you can stack together. Definitely you can stack Mr. Phillip Rivers with Keenan Allen as well as Tyrell Williams. I can see that easily. And remember, both of these teams have dual threat running backs. So this is a game here that you could definitely team stack Mahomes with Hill as well as Kareem Hunt. And because Kareem Hunt, he gets at least 5 or 6 receptions pretty much a game, and we know that he's capable of lighting it up with his feet, okay, or with his hands. So Mr. Hunt, that's not a bad play at all there, Kansas City. The only thing is the Chargers are a pretty decent defense, especially against the run. So we'll see how that pans out for Kansas City. But I like this game as a possible game stack. Washington, Arizona is definitely a good game stack. Arizona with my boy DJ, David Johnson. Love David Johnson. I'm glad he's back. I hope he stays 100% healthy. He will definitely help Arizona a lot. Arizona's numbers are going to be much better this year with this man in the backfield. And for Washington, man, Alex Smith, man, he's a proven winner, man. There's no doubt about it. So you got to consider Alex Smith. They do have their running backs. They got Chris Thompson, and they added Adrian Peterson. So now you got yourself, he's got himself some weapons in the backfield. And, of course, his receivers are not too bad. He's got Dotson, okay. He's got the two tight ends. So, they're in pretty good shape. I can see a nice stack there as well. And you throw in there, let's see, Washington. You throw in there Mr. Crowder or Dotson. I really like Paul Richardson. I think pairing him up with Alex Smith and throwing in one of the tight ends might make sense. And you have a lot of money left over because they're not that expensive. $5,700 for Paul Richardson, and if you're throwing in a Vernon Davis at $4,500, even Jordan Reed, I wouldn't mind taking a stab at him at $5,800. Would not be a bad idea. Dallas, Carolina could be a competitive game. I think it's going to be low scoring though. Probably lower scoring than what they have. The projections for them are what are the? Let me see what the lines are for them again. What are the lines? I had those lines here. Here they go. Yeah, they got 42. That's the third lowest third lowest point totals. Over under 42. Carolina favored by 3. I like that. Carolina and Dallas could be a nice little game to target. Seattle, Denver, as you know, Seattle's definitely in serious trouble. This is going to be basically for Seattle, Russell Wilson and the Doug Baldwin show, for them most of the year. And, Russell, I love Russell. He's one of my boys. I love this guy. Great dual threat quarterback. He's going to do everything he can to keep this team competitive. But the defense is what's going to hurt them. They lost. The Legion of Boom is gone. So I love Denver here at home, man. Case Keenum with those 2 receivers, Thomas and Sanders. And then you got the rookie running back in Royce Freeman. I don't know. I think Seattle's in serious trouble here. But that's a game that I would be willing to stack. I actually already did. I did put them in one or two lineups. I did go with Keenum, Sanders, and Royce Freeman. I gave it a shot. All right, so let's see where we at with some questions. I mean, Thomas, yes, withdrew. And remember, we are here to feed off each other. I mean, for the people who have been with me with WNBA or NBA, they know pretty much I like to just, we learn from one another. I'm not a shark here. I'm not playing millions of dollars or thousands of dollars a week. I'm just a guy that plays, loves the sports, and I really dig into the statistics. Max Rex says Bradford could be a sneaky play. He can be. I've just never really have been fond of Sam Bradford. I just don't know what it is. The Steelers. Yeah, I mean, the Steelers, that's what I'm saying. That's why I like Carlos Hyde. I definitely like Carlos Hyde against the Steelers tomorrow, but the Steelers are a fairly good defense on both sides of the ball as far as defensively and offensively, but at the same time on defense, they're not too bad against the pass and they're not too bad against the run. I think they're better against the run, but yes, Shazier's loss is definitely a big loss for them in the middle. I think Carlos Hyde, and especially if they get in the red zone, I'm really looking forward to that game, man. I got my Sunday ticket. I'm ready to go. I really want to see how Cleveland plays tomorrow against Pittsburgh. I really want to see how this offense evolves in this first game, and then hopefully they can play better in the weeks to come. But I believe that Cleveland is not going to be an 0-16 team this year. Yeah, Henry Boyd, yes. Yes, sir. Mr. Hunt. I love Kareem Hunt. DJ, David Johnson is my boy, man. From 2 years ago. He lit it up 2 years ago. Fantastic runner. Very explosive. Great between the tackles. Yeah, he's going to be something else. Arizona definitely needs him, especially with, I just don't know about Bradford. For them to have Bradford for the next few years, I don't know how competitive it'll be. Heavy winds, Sir Dave. Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard the weather's not too good at Cleveland tomorrow. I'm in New York, so obviously that weather is going to probably come my way as well. But, yeah, I'm not banking a whole lot on Cleveland other than I like Carlos Hyde, with the running game. If they can definitely open that up, that'll be great. And then, of course, we know how dangerous TT could be, Tyrod Taylor, so it could be something else. Peyton Barber. I did look at Peyton Barber, man. You mentioned him. He had a good game in Game 2 against New Orleans last year. He had a great game. As a matter of fact, I think I had those stats. I'm gonna give them to you because I did have those stats. And I was looking at him. He's one of the backs that I was considering as a possible sneak play, and I crossed him out just due to that he only had the one good game against them in the 2 games they played. Barber in the first game only put up 10 yards 3 yards per carry, only had 11 rushes for 34 yards. But in Game 2, he was very, very explosive. Then again, Game 2, they had Jameis Winston. Can definitely open the doors for a lot of things. But Mr. Barber, 17 carries, 71 yards, 4.2 yards per carry, and had 1 touchdown in that game against New Orleans last year, the final game of the season where Tampa Bay won 31-24. And that game was in Tampa, so it's not in New Orleans. So I definitely made a note of that as well. But in that game, obviously, everybody played well. Even Winston, 28 of 51, 363 yards and 1 TD. He also rushed for 5 rushes and 32 yards and 1 TD. That's Mr. Winston, who is not playing tomorrow. All right. And then their receivers, Goodwin and Humphreys, both had 7 receptions apiece. They both had over 100 yards apiece, which was really surprising. 111 yards and 102 respectively, with Mr. Goodwin with 1 TD. So that's the reason why Tampa Bay won that game last year against New Orleans. Yes, Peyton Barber could be possibly a sneaky play tomorrow. Absolutely. You know, I had, like I said, you know, I'm not BSing you. I have that right here in my sheet. I had him, and I put a cross next to him, figuring not quite, at least not for me. But we are talking about it here, and that's why I like to have the live show, so we can interact with one another and feed off of each other as far as information is concerned. Henry Boyd, Tyrod Taylor, yes. Sir Dave, well, we know Sir Dave. Dave, I know that you are a Cleveland fan, and Cleveland could possibly be I'm going to say that you may have a possibility of having Cleveland win, I would say 7 games this year. I know you put up there 9 and 7 this year. We hope they do. You know, I hope they do for your sake. I'm a Jet fan, so I'm hoping the Jets at least go 9 and 7. You know, I think we are a little bit more improved as well. I know our defense is going to be better. I mean, because we got those players that are getting better each year, especially our young kids. But hopefully our offense picks it up. Definitely we need a running back, man. We need an explosive running back. I think you guys are okay with Carlos Hyde. Yeah, Marky Mark, yes. Alvin Kamara will be high owned tomorrow, but, you know, you can't pass up the numbers. If you can pay down at quarterback and find the right fit at quarterback and then get a nice play at tight end, like I said, I gave you guys Jesse James for Pittsburgh tomorrow may be a very viable option with no Le'Veon Bell, and they got to hope and pray that their running back for the day tomorrow, which is James Conner, actually able to move the ball. You know? But I like Jesse James, short yardage situations. Also in the red zone, he was pretty good. They robbed him last year in the playoffs with that, you know, they supposedly said that he did not have possession of the football in the end zone, which is just totally horseshit. But, you know, I think those things are going to change this year. There was a lot of complaints about that. Hunt, Gordon, and McCaffrey. Devin Stanley, I had just mentioned a little while ago with the running backs. I like McCaffrey as well. Gordon and Hunt, definitely love those two. I am more in favor of Kareem Hunt. I used him quite a bit last year, and he did wonders for me. Every time I pretty much put him in my lineup, he came up big. I'm hoping that he continues to do that. I do plan to have him in a few of my lineups tomorrow. Gordon and Hunt are top plays. Thoughts on Burkhead? Burkhead, you know, he's a possibility. I'll be honest with you, I kind of like James White a little bit more for New England here. Burkhead is going to play. You know, he's coming off a little bit of an injury. I just don't know if he's going to be 100%, you know, in this game. I think in this game, I really like the receivers in this game with Hogan and Gronkowski, and then on the other side, Hopkins. You know, I really like those receivers more so than I like the running backs. I never am fond of the New England running backs, but we all know New England finds ways to win with the combination of 2 or 3 running backs. So they're not going to have a set running back. Somebody will start, we all know how New England goes about this. They never have had a stud running back in years, and they continue to get to the Super Bowl. And obviously that is all a tribute to the coaching and as well as to the fine players that are, you know, buying into the system, and of course Mr. Brady being as great as he is. So Burkhead, I think he's going to get some time and he's going to probably get some reps. I just don't think I want to pay $6,300 for him on FanDuel to hope that he does get more than 15 or 20 carries. I don't think he's going to get that. David Stanley asks, okay, Vernon Green, Henry Boyd, yeah. What I have, John Ross, Amendola. I love both. Devin. If I'm going to go with John Ross or Amendola, I like the stacking of having Dalton with A.J. Green and Mr. John Ross. We know he's very explosive. He's a deep ball threat type of receiver, has explosive speed. So Ross is definitely someone to consider. Amendola is going to be in a good spot too against Tennessee. Miami, they brought him there for a reason. This guy, as you know, has got a great pedigree. As we all know, he's been with New England for many years. He knows how to win. He's been in game situations where they're tight. You know, I mean, he's seasoned. He's a seasoned professional. Makes all the good, tough catches. Definitely pretty good in the red zone as well. But the whole point is, can Miami get to the red zone and give Amendola a shot, some shots to get some touchdowns? I like the explosive speed. I like the Cincy game against Indy. I would probably say John Ross. What about Dorsett? Yeah, Philip Dorsett for New England is definitely in play. 5,900. I love Chris Hogan a little bit more. He is $800 more in this matchup. But if you're going with New England and you want to save some money and you want to actually, you definitely want to have some exposure to the Houston-New England game because of the high scoring effect, yes, Philip Dorsett is definitely someone to consider. Hogan or Sanders? Devin asks. I love, you got all the good questions, man. Devin, you got some great questions there, buddy. Hogan or Sanders? Yeah, they're both in favorable spots, man. We know that Hogan is going to be in an offense that he's probably going to be one of the lead targets on this New England team. So with that being said, yeah, he's definitely in play. I think he's probably in a better play tomorrow because of the upside of this game being a 30-30 somewhat game. I will probably lean towards Hogan. I'm sure he's going to get at least 8 targets. Sanders is going to probably get about the same because it seems like Case Keenum really is starting to feel really comfortable with Sanders. And he did the same thing last year. Yes, you can see he was gravitating more towards Thielen than Diggs. So, I mean, they utilized both, but you can see that Thielen definitely had an explosive year last year because that connection and that chemistry with Case Keenum was good. And I think the same thing here is going to go with Sanders. So those are both good plays, man. Both good plays. If you could pay up at running back and be able to pay down just a little bit at wide receiver if you needed to, those are two plays that you could probably take both together. I would not be at all hesitant to take those two on my lineup anytime. And you could put one of them as your actual flex play if you wanted to. But if you... Yeah, Devin is right. He's just saying the same thing, both. Yeah, I just like them both, too. It's so hard to decide. I think both are going to get more than enough exposure as far as targets tomorrow for their respective teams. So I am all in favor of both of those guys. Burkhead is 4,200 on DK, maybe a shot. Yeah, if he is 4,200, he is definitely much cheaper there. Because he's what, 50... He's 6,300 over here. That's pretty expensive on FanDuel. Yeah, 4,200 on DK is a possible, but I just don't know how many. I don't know how many touches he's going to get tomorrow. We know that he's good off the backfield. He's definitely a good check down receiver as well. Could play the slot, Rex, but he's good at short yardage situations as well. They utilize him in a lot of ways. I think that James White is going to get some actions too, and I think James White could be a little more explosive, especially on the outside. If he gets outside the tackles, he's pretty explosive too. Henry Boy, love Ross. Torrey, Cousins or Keenum? Those are two tough choices too. Like I said, I don't know if you were here when I started. I definitely like, as far as a team stack, I love Cousins with Thielen and Rudolph. I love Rudolph tomorrow as a tight end. And then I also like Keenum with Sanders and throwing in the young rookie, Mr. Freeman, in the backfield. But if I'm leaning in any direction, if you're asking me about those two, I will probably go Cousins because I really like not only the matchup against San Francisco being like 22nd against the pass, but also the fact is that Kirk Cousins is going to have probably the most explosive offense he's ever had right here with Minnesota, and I'm sure he is excited as hell to go out there and have a massive game tomorrow. So Kirk Cousins with either Thielen or Diggs or Rudolph, you should be fine. And if you wanted to take three of those guys, those are the three I would recommend. I would recommend Thielen with Rudolph and Mr. Cousins. Devin Stanley, that's a good question. You know, with the flex position, definitely. I tell you one thing, when it comes to that, as far as me now, I can honestly say I will go with the best possible play. I know it's kind of like, you know, me just getting out of the question, but I will go with the best possible player that has the best upside. And if it means it's a running back, then I will do the running back. If it's going to be a wide receiver or even a tight end, I did one of these lineups. I did a lineup actually last night on DraftKings, and I chose 2 tight ends. And I chose one of the tight ends in a flex because it was the best possible play there. I took Mr. Travis Kelce, so I have actually 2 tight ends in play, and I have 2 solid tight ends. So I mean, you could go that route. So for me, I would say is the best option there. Running back, you take him. If he's in a favorable matchup, you got to take that running back. If he has upside, and especially these FanDuel points are very, very critical. Matter of fact, I'm going to tell you right now, all right? Look at my chart here. You were asking running back. All right, running backs or wide receivers. Let's take a quick look at that, right? If we're looking at, I would definitely would be looking at, if I were you, is how teams have handled giving up fantasy points. Now, the top team here was Buffalo, okay? Defense against running backs. Buffalo gave up the most DK points to running backs. 29.1 DraftKings points per game, and FanDuel 25.4. All right, so if you wanted to target Buffalo it is. You have next Detroit. Then other than that, you have Cincinnati and then Tampa Bay. So now you're looking at, well, Detroit doesn't come into the equation. They're playing the Jets on Monday. Buffalo obviously is playing Baltimore tomorrow, so that's one of the reasons why I have a check mark next to Buffalo. Not only are they poor against the run, but they also give up a lot of DK and FanDuel points, fantasy points, to running backs. So Buffalo is definitely in play. Cincinnati against Indy, but I don't have anybody in Indianapolis that scares me, so I am not afraid at all of Indianapolis. So I will not be targeting Cincinnati. Tampa Bay, yes. With New Orleans, man. Kamara back there, pretty dangerous situation, giving up 27 fantasy points to running backs last year. So definitely Tampa Bay is an issue tomorrow, definitely someone to target. So if you're looking for someone there. And then, of course, you have the Rams. They're not in play tomorrow. They play late. Miami Dolphins going up against Tennessee. They gave up 26. So that Tennessee, and I didn't mention it earlier, but, don't sleep on Mr. Henry. Henry, I think, is only 5,900. I think he's 5,900 if I remember correctly. No, he's actually more, 6,800, maybe 5,900 on DK. Devin, okay, what we got? I like catching running backs. Yes, those dual threat running backs are very important, Gary. I love those guys as well. I mentioned in yesterday's video. It's not going to change for me. That's just my preference. Again, nothing, guys. Again, ladies and gentlemen, whoever, those of you who are viewing. Nothing's guaranteed. We know that. We want to just have the best opportunity, give ourselves the best chance to win every week. Want to have the best chance. Tori says, I think 3 running backs are the way to go this week. A lot of value. Yeah, running backs, I always prefer to pay up for running backs. I'd be totally honest with you. I know some of them are going to be a little chalky. Kamara's going to probably be pretty chalky. I could see him being 50% owned tomorrow out of all the people in the game. But the proper thing is not to even say to yourself, hey, you know what? I'm going to fade Kamara. If you fade Kamara, you make sure you get another solid back. So if you don't like Kamara, you don't want to pay $8,700 from him. You feel he's going to be more than likely chalky. I think he's going to be about 50%. David Johnson could be an option. Then all of a sudden you go down a couple $100. You got some guys here that are not going to be chalky. Melvin Gordon is not going to be chalky. Neither is Ezekiel Elliott, and neither is Kareem Hunt. I don't believe so. And Fournette against the Giants. Tori says Collins, Freeman, Connor for FanDuel GPP. I love Alex Collins. I just mentioned earlier, I definitely willing to take a stab at Mr. Royce Freeman, the rookie. And then you say Connor. Connor is the running back for Pittsburgh. Yeah, for GPP, those are great plays for GPP. I'm basically looking at GPP. You guys know me. I play mostly GPP. I'm not playing no cash games tomorrow, to be totally honest with you. All my games are GPP. But I definitely look at some guys that I think are going to be low owned. Remember, this is a massive slate. This is 11, 12 games. You're not going to pick 4 or 5 guys that are going to be 50, 60% owned. It's not going to happen. In my honest opinion, it's not going to happen. Even if you take Kamara, he'll probably be the only guy that you may have at 50%. That's just too many plays tomorrow. And the beauty of that also, another thing, another tip for you guys, if you're playing multiple lineups, definitely make 3 or 4 or 5 different lineups. There's nothing wrong with having 3 or 4 core players, but you don't want to just do that in a main slate. And not only that, this is the first game of the season, folks. This is the first weekend of football. So, I mean, you know, some of these teams are going to take a week or two, at least 2 or 3 games to really get it going. So this is why, you know, I base my statistics and my decisions on last year's stuff, not so much on the preseason because you don't get to see these players a whole lot. But now in the next 2 to 3 weeks, yeah, you definitely start paying really close attention on how things are being run by the coaches, how players are playing, what players actually are building a great connection with one another, and you take it from there. Somebody asks about OBJ. Hey, man, he's one of the best receivers in the league. Odell Beckham Jr. is Odell Beckham Jr. Is he capable of having a great game tomorrow against Jacksonville? Absolutely. Absolutely. Jacksonville is a very, very good defense. Both sides of the ball, defensive pass defense as well as running defense. But we are discussing, you know, Odell Beckham Jr. is probably one of the best receivers or one of the top 4 or 5 receivers in the league as far as how well he can, as far as how electrifying he can be in a game. Yes, if the Giants are going to be at least somewhat competitive at home tomorrow against Jacksonville, they need Odell Beckham Jr. and Eli Manning to have some connections. So, yeah, Beckham is in play. I'm fading him tomorrow because of the matchup, but it doesn't mean that he might not have a good game. I mean, he's going to definitely get targeted unless he gets totally shut down, which I doubt. Yeah, Devin Washington, yes. Saquon, Mr. Barkley is definitely someone to consider, man. He's a dual threat back. This kid is very, very explosive, man. At Penn State, I mean, between the tackles, very good. He can definitely find his own hole. He gets on the outside. He's very explosive. He's got very, very good breakout speed. And he's capable of being a very, very good screen catcher. And, you know, the check downs, same thing here as well. The only thing is how well is the offensive line going to defend enough for him to open up, to get those holes and be explosive. That's what we got to have to wait and see with Mr. Barkley, is how well the front line of the Giants can push the line of scrimmage and open doors for this kid to be very explosive. He finds holes, he's going to be explosive. But it's all a matter of how well that offense. So for right now, for me, I'd rather wait to see how the Giants play with this kid in the first 2 or 3 weeks. But don't get me wrong. He is definitely someone you can consider. This is what's so beautiful about football. All these young kids coming in, all these dual threat quarterbacks, dual threat running backs. Football, NFL is changing, man. The whole thought, you know, I mean, I've been watching football for nearly 40 years. I'm 50 years old. And it's crazy. I mean, over 40 some odd years watching a game of football, it has evolved to a whole nother level. Football, you know, nowadays these athletes, these kids are just so much more explosive. They're so much into their health. They're into the serious training. It just, all that makes these kids that much more explosive, and they're able to come in here. The NBA has changed all the same way too. It's just not the same, you know. So football, you know, that drop that back quarterback, hey, is all great. It's fine and dandy, but nowadays most organizations, if I had my own organization, I want a dual threat running back. I want a dual threat quarterback. Scotty P, what about DJ Moore for Panthers? Man, I don't know, man. You know, the Panthers, this game here, I don't know this game here, man. This game is like, it's like Carolina, they're okay. I just, same thing with Dallas. I think this game is going to be a low-scoring game. I don't think it's going to be a lot of scoring in this game. Something just tells me it is. It's just, to me, both of these teams are like kind of like, they're kind of similar in a way. I mean, they're still finding themselves a bit going into this year, as far as I'm concerned. Dallas, you know, had a 9-7 year last year. They were expecting high hopes over there. Dak Prescott had a very, very bad year, second year, sophomore year. Hopefully this year, his junior year, he'll be a lot more better. They got a new rookie in Michael Gallup. I don't know, man. DJ Moore for Carolina, you know, yeah, I mean, he's only 5,500, so, I mean, it could be a decent little flex play here. Very sneaky in a game situation like this. I just think with Cam, he just really doesn't have a lot of targets here, man. Cam is in a tough spot. He's going to have to run the ball a little bit here. Dallas has a pretty decent front four, you know, so I don't know, man. That's a tough choice for me as far as DJ Moore. James Perkins. Cowboys win by 7. Hey, a nice that you know, I appreciate that, Devin Washington, about smashing that like button. Hey, yeah, guys, you know, if you liked the content, I'm gonna give as best content I can possibly give you guys. Definitely drop a like on the live stream and of course on the videos. Greatly appreciated. As far as joining, yes, we where we at with that, Devin? I have not checked that. We full? We're not full on it. We have a DFS Zone NFL football league. It's gonna be a $5, 20 players, $5 a week commitment. At the end of the season, I'm gonna have when we get to the playoff rounds, I'm gonna have the top 8 teams just to make it just like the NFL. Have the top 8 players battle it out. Obviously, I'm in that pool as well, and the winner of it will get something. Will get a prize from me at DFS Zone, which I still don't know what that may be, but it would be something nice, obviously, to the winner. It's just another way for us to build a nice community here at DFS Zone. I've talked about it. We did the little tournaments, the 20-player tournaments in the WNBA with my WNBA viewers, which I appreciate greatly, like always. And some of them are in that league as well. So if anybody is interested in that, the link is in the bottom of this video. I think it's also in the video the first week. The video I did yesterday is in there as well. So just go in there, check it out. It's $5 commitment a week. You got a chance to make $45 a week if you come in first place. Top 3 teams cash every week, and it's a way to just build a little bankroll, especially if you don't have a whole lot. You have an opportunity to take something down, and you'll have also, you know, the bragging rights for a week of who took it down on DFS Zone's tournament. And at the end of the year, you have the chance also to get yourself a prize from me as well. So not a bad gig. Only 9 players, Devin? Oh, damn. We still need like 11 more. We need 11 more, folks, by tomorrow. So anybody's watching is interested, bottom of this video, other than this live stream in the description area, as well as my week 1 video that I posted up yesterday. You can check it out. Also, the guys, definitely, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. A lot of content coming this way as I get more familiarized with the NFL. I've been doing NFL for a long time. I haven't done NFL videos. I just started the channel pretty much 5.5 months ago, and this is my first stab at NFL, but I do plan to obviously incorporate different things to it. And of course, I always will have as much information for you as far as what are the best possible plays for you, which will be 2 to 3 players or better every single week, not, you know, 6 or 7 plays. I'm not going to do that. You're never going to get that here ever. And same thing also with the NBA when we start up in mid-October next month. So definitely stay tuned for all that. Yeah, definitely it is. Prize, Knicks tickets. Well, all right, that might be something I might consider, James Perkins. Thank you for that. Yeah, Cowboys win by 7. So this is where we at, guys, as far as plays possibly for tomorrow. Anybody has any take on anything surprisingly other than what I have mentioned in my previous video and tonight, as far as quarterbacks, as far as the positions, quarterback, wide receiver, running back, tight end? Anybody in favor of any of the team stacks that I mentioned of? Cam is going to run. Yeah, he's going to run for his life. Cam is a nice player, man. He's tough. He is, you know, he could be a little arrogant as well as cocky, but he's a pretty good player. Sir Dave says Cam will have to run. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's gonna be I think that game is gonna be a really low scoring game. I could see it being like, you know, 17-14, you know, maybe even 14-7. I would not be surprised at all. You know, I'll be totally surprised if that game ends up being a shootout, which I doubt very much. As far as games tomorrow, like I said, man, the ones, if you just came in and tuned in now, I mean, like I said, best team stacks tomorrow, best game stacks tomorrow. If you're looking to target games that are probably going to be pretty explosive, I think the best 3 in my opinion, are Houston, New England, which should be a no-brainer. We know that these teams are not that great with that passing defense, so I could expect both of them to put up some big numbers. You also have, I believe, the Washington-Arizona game is going to be a high-scoring game, probably close to the 30s. And I also believe Kansas City and the Chargers will probably be in the high 20s, maybe even in the 30s. Devin says, Fitz, Hill, or Diggs? Now, you're talking about Fitz, you're talking about Fitzpatrick. If you're talking about Fitzpatrick, I have no interest in Ryan Fitzpatrick. And Hill, which Hill is that? Are you talking Tyrell Hill? Diggs, I know who's Diggs. Who's better? Wow. If you're talking Fitz is out. That's definitely. If you're talking about Hill, and if you're talking about the Kansas City wide receiver, Tyreek Hill is definitely a good play. I definitely think he's in good play. And of course, Diggs is definitely in a good play, in a good situation too. Like I said a little while ago, I like Minnesota, a team stack with Mr. Kirk Cousins and Allen with Mr. Adam Thielen. But I also did mention you can do either or. You can go with Diggs. And you definitely, I think you should throw in there Mr. Rudolph. Yeah, Cleveland have to utilize Carlos Hyde against Pittsburgh. Yeah, especially with the weather being the way it is. That's just where I think Carlos Hyde is a good play, man. He's also a guy that doesn't fumble a whole lot. You know, he's got good hands. So for me, I definitely like Carlos Hyde. I did mention him in my video yesterday as one of the guys I did like. I do have him in some of my lineups. Okay, and you know, I'm definitely gonna roll with him. Hopefully, he does well. Oh, Larry Fitzgerald. Sorry. Yeah, Larry Fitzgerald. Wow, Larry Fitzgerald is definitely someone to consider. But I just finished saying Washington and Arizona is going to be probably a shootout. I love Mr. DJ over there. And if you're thinking of Larry Fitzgerald in this game, absolutely. Again, Washington's weakness is their run defense. They are decent. They are respectable, middle of the pack as far as pass defense. But Larry Fitzgerald is a very important part of this Arizona offense. If Bradford, my whole thing is the if factor with Bradford. I am not too fond of Sam Bradford. Hopefully Fitzgerald will have a good game. If I was targeting this game as a game stack, I would definitely have Fitzgerald in there in the hope that Bradford would have a good game. But I would probably be grabbing Alex Smith as opposed to Bradford as the quarterback. If you're going to target this game as a possible game stack, if you're just looking for him as a player, I like him. I just am not confident enough in Sam Bradford in getting him that ball consistently. You know, but he should be targeted easily 10, 12 times in this game. He should be. I mean, he is the best receiver they got. Jaguars, wide receivers. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned I like the Jaguars wide receiver. I like their stack because, you know, I like Bortles this week. And I did mention I like Bortles with Keelan Cole. And I think Keelan Cole, you know, is a great value play, very cheap here. As you can see, he is. Keelan Cole is $4,500 on Fanduel. And Blake Bortles was fantastic. And I would not be at all even knowing that Leonard Fournette is not only a good runner, he's also capable of receiving some good passes. I can see Mr. Fournette having a big game against the Giants too. So you can definitely just pair up. You could do a three stack right there, team stack with those three players. I don't see that being anything that, you know. I don't see no reason why not, especially if you're looking to target this actual game. Jacksonville is definitely one of the better defenses in the slate tomorrow, going up against the Giants. But then again, you know, the Giants have they got OBJ back. They got Mr. Sharp. I also like you know, the young kid Barkley. So you never know. You know, Jacksonville may have their hands full a little bit. Yeah, Cole and Westbrook, I definitely like tomorrow. I'm more interested in Mr. Cole. And I love the tight end situation because the Giants are just so bad. The Giants are bad, period, defensively last year. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt. The new year is coming in here. They are going to probably be better defense. But last year they were horrible. They gave up 32 touchdowns last year. It was the worst in the league. So we'll see if they can improve on that. And they actually gave 12 touchdowns out of those 32 to tight ends. So that is one of the reasons why I am leaning towards Severian Jenkins as the tight end tomorrow against this team. Definitely will love to target him against the Giants. So I'm looking at I'm looking at Bortles with Cole and Mr. Jenkins, and you got Cole and Jenkins at 46 and 43 respectively. It opens up the door for you to definitely get one, possibly two solid running backs and be able to stack up nicely on a nice receiver or two, especially if you pay down also at defense. Okay, my running back selection is Kamara, Hyde, and Collins. I actually have all three. I actually have mentioned all three in yesterday's video. I definitely like all three of those backs. On top of that, I like DJ because he's just my boy, you know. So Mr. Johnson is in play for me for Arizona against that weak defense of Washington. And again, this is early on in the year. Remember, it's just strictly my opinion. I go by the stats, and I'm basing this all on last year's statistics. We have to build some statistics for this year, and we will know even more so where these teams are at defensively, offensively, as far as players in the next, I would say, after 3 weeks of the season. You'll definitely have a better gauge. But for right now, for the weeks to come, I'm going to base my stuff on last year as well as the first game and the first 2 or 3 games of the season, and then work my way from there. Devin says Jalen Samuels is the ultimate GPP play. He may be. You know, you have to find someone very sneakily here. Remember, this is a massive game. I mean, how many people are doing this thing? 529,000 this tournament, and this is ticking away, and we still only have half. This tournament is not even full yet. Really surprising. It's not even full yet. This 1 million to first. All my entries, as you can see here, I have, you see up here at the top, I got 6 entries. All these entries I won with Major League Baseball, WNBA, winning the tickets. And, you know, I didn't pay a whole lot because I definitely did well with winning those without putting a whole lot. I played a couple 25-cent ones and won. I played a 1 or 2 $1 ones and won. And then I did win 3 more for the Thursday event, and that just bombed on me, you know. I just didn't select the right guys there, and it was just... So, but I have 6 chances at $1 million tomorrow. Say, hey, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. And on top of that, I do have a few lineups set up in smaller events other than this one. Duke Johnson for Cleveland. Wow. I don't know about Duke Johnson, but Duke Johnson, you know, he is a back that gets time on the floor. He's actually almost the same price as Hyde. I just see that Hyde is probably going to get more touches, but Dave, you probably know the Cleveland Browns way better than me. And if you think Duke Johnson was part of this offense last year, and he did put up his, you know, he did get his touches, I think they brought Carlos Hyde here for a reason. And I think Carlos Hyde is going to get the brunt of the work. Duke Johnson will probably be short yardage, possibly. I think he's going to be a short yardage back for them. I don't see him being the starter and playing and getting the most touches in the backfield. I could see Carlos Hyde getting 15 to 18 rushes a game, and I wouldn't even be surprised he gets 20, especially if he's playing so well. And Duke Johnson probably more in short yardage situations, at least in my opinion. Even though Carlos Hyde was so fantastic in the red zone last year, I just, you know, it's just my opinion. I don't know. Yeah, off the backfield, yes. You say he could catch the ball. Yeah, he can catch the ball. But Carlos Hyde is pretty good too. You know, he's good at checkdowns as well. He's not explosive. He don't got, you know, he don't have Barkley speed or Kamara speed or something like that, or even DJ. But he is, you know, he's fairly good back there. Tough call for me. I probably would not play Duke Johnson not in week 1. There's so many more options, you know. Yeah, I agree with Anthony Martin. Duke Johnson, not enough touches. No, sir. No, sir. Yeah, I just, for me, that's just the way I feel about that. I mean, What I think about Adrian Peterson, he could be a sneaky play tomorrow, Adrian Peterson. It's a matter, I really don't know. Has Washington made a decision on who's starting at running back? I think it's going to be Chris Thomas who's going to start. Chris Thompson. I think Chris Thompson is going to start. I don't think it's going to be Adrian Peterson, but I could be wrong. If Adrian Peterson is starting, he may get rejuvenated here, man. I mean, he was bouncing around the last few years. He had the injuries. I mean, he probably really wants to play as hard as he can for someone. So I would say Adrian Peterson could be a play. I just don't like the price. 6,300 I think is a little high for someone who hasn't really been a factor for a while. So we'll see what happens. I like Chris Thompson. The times he definitely played before he got injured for Washington, he was pretty explosive. I think it was his job to start with. He was the starter. We'll see, you know. And then they got, you know. But I think Adrian Peterson could be a possible play. I just think tomorrow for 6,300, I'm loving, you know, guys like Frank Gore. I mean, 6,300. Let's go right to the running backs real quick here. You're considering Adrian Peterson. Now, I know you're thinking of the matchup. Arizona's defense is not that bad. Actually, their defense against the run is probably in the top 10, if I recall correctly. All right, but look at these guys that are right underneath him that you have a chance to grab. You got the young rookie here, Freeman, with young legs. He's going to get the starting position. He's going to play tomorrow, and he's going to get some reps. He may get 15 to 20 carries. If he can show he can be a 3-down back, they're going to put him in there. They're going to keep him in there. So Royce Freeman, like I said, then you got Carlos Hyde for Cleveland, 5,900. I think he's in a favorable matchup here. I think Cleveland brought him in here. He's very good in the red zone. They got some new improved offense. If they can move the ball downfield. Now, granted, they have to move the ball well and give him an opportunity to run. So if that front line does not open up the holes and make things happen for Carlos Hyde, you know, it's not going to open up the doors for Mr. Tyrod Taylor and the rest of the gang there. And he got weapons. I mean, with Gordon and Landry, holy smoke. Both of these guys can make spectacular catches. They both have top-notch speed. And, you know, the most important thing is they just got great hands. They're great route runners. So they got a nice lineup there. And they got a quarterback that can move in the pocket, create space and time for those receivers to really open it up. I mean, Pittsburgh is going to have a rough go tomorrow. I wish the weather wasn't as bad as it's going to be. Then you got guys down here, you know, I mentioned James White, and somebody mentioned Mr. Peyton. He did have Peyton Barber. He did have a decent game against New Orleans, the last guy. But underneath that price that you had just mentioned for Adrian Peterson, you got Burkhead, you got Dion Lewis for Tennessee, you got Mr. Freeman, the rookie, who's going to start. You got Carlos Hyde, who's going to start. So I think you got a couple options there to choose those players over Adrian Peterson at 6,300, and we don't know if he's going to really start or get. I don't know how many touches he's going to get. So that's my opinion. Jason asks, do I like Joe Mixon? Yes, absolutely. Joe Mixon is in the mix. Joe Mixon is in the mix for tomorrow. Definitely like him here. Indianapolis, the Colts are horrific defensively versus the pass and the rush. They were just dreadful. I mean, and they didn't even look good in the preseason. In the highlights I saw, you had like second unit teams scoring touchdowns on these guys. So I mean, yeah, they don't look too good, Indianapolis. That's why I definitely like Cincinnati with that Dalton, pairing up Dalton. You could also have Mixon in the mix and AJ Green or John Ross, or using John Ross as well as AJ Green with Dalton as a team stack. I'm all in favor of that. I think that's an awesome stack going into Indianapolis tomorrow. Yeah, Devin. Yeah, McCoy is, but you know why I'm not on McCoy, and I've always liked LaShawn McCoy. I think he's a great back. I think he's just a great team player. My thing with him in this situation is Buffalo was pretty good. They were 6th in the league, if I recall correctly. I have a pretty good memory, but 6th in the league in rushing last year, and they're facing a team that really did, were in the middle. They're like maybe the 12th or 13th in rushing last year in Baltimore, But Baltimore, they're gonna key up on McCoy. They don't have. Listen, when you have a Nathan Peterman Nathan Peterman. I mean, I don't know. The name just sounds like somebody who's is a doctor or an attorney. Yeah, you got a Nathan Peterman who has not established himself. Now, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Nathan Peterman may have a great game tomorrow, may end up being a pretty decent NFL player. I don't think so. I think they're in a tough spot tomorrow going into Baltimore. Baltimore is a fairly good defensive team all the way around. I think they were in the top 10 in defense as a team overall. They're going to go against Buffalo, who is the 6th best rushing offense last year. But that's all they have. They're terrible with the pass. If you shut down and neutralize McCoy, which I think they will, you're going to find themselves in a position. That's why I like Baltimore as a defensive play tomorrow. No matter what, I think they're the best defensive play tomorrow simply because of that situation. You shut down, neutralize McCoy, don't let him have big game, and then you find yourself in a position. You got Nathan Peterman trying to keep up in this game and try to get some offense out of him, and it's going to open the doors for interceptions, fumbles, sacks, you name it. And those are all the additional points we would love to get from Baltimore. So I won't sleep on McCoy. He's capable of having a 100-yard rushing game. He's also pretty good off the backfield, as far as screens, as far as checkdowns. He's got decent hands. He has a tendency of fumbling, so he's a little fumble prone. It's happened. But in my opinion, I like Baltimore shutting him down. That's their key focal point on defense tomorrow, is making sure that this guy don't beat him. Let's see if Nathan Peterman can. Thanks, Devin. I'm glad that I can help, man. That's the whole purpose of all this, is to help out people and also to get to know other people. I like the factors of going on live and just meeting new people, man, discussing the sports. This is what I enjoy doing. Baltimore's missing their best corner. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a factor. I mean, well, listen, if Peterman can find those players and he can do well, man, I'll tip my hat off to him, and maybe he may have the potential to be the starting quarterback for this team for the remainder of the year. But just remember, Josh Allen is in the wing, and if this guy just has a really bad game, coughs up the ball quite a bit here, then everybody in Buffalo is going to start wanting Josh Allen to be the quarterback. So at this moment, man, I don't think it's a good play to take McCoy. I mean, he'll be definitely low owned tomorrow, but he is the focal point of the offense, but that's the only thing they have. And I'm not willing to pay up for someone like that when I have, solid plays somewhere else where I have favorable matchups. Peterman is garbage. I like Baltimore defense as well, yes. How about Doyle or Ebron? Yeah, Ebron. I like Ebron. Now, Jack Doyle had a very good year last year for Indianapolis, but Indianapolis, I mean, oof. They're just so bad, man. And then Andrew Luck. I don't know if Andrew Luck is gonna ever get back to the way he was. I mean, I saw some highlights of him of the preseason. He looked horrible, man. He's just not there yet. So I don't know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, Doyle is Andrew Luck's favorite. And you know what? He might as well check down and hit Mr. Doyle all day, because I don't know if Andrew Luck is gonna be able to have the kind of games that he's had in the past. Until I see it, I'm not buying into it. Right now, to me, he is someone that I'm not at all interested in as far as a quarterback. So, I mean, it's going to be a tough task for him tomorrow. I actually like Cincinnati even as a possible defense tomorrow, as a sneaky play defense. I like Cincinnati's numbers going up against that poor defense and that poor offense of Indiana. That's Indianapolis. Indianapolis' offense and defense are both very weak. Just all around. The team is really bad, so they need Andrew Luck to play well, and he's going to need to check it down and throw it to Jack Doyle. But Ebron is definitely someone that I would consider. Sir Dave says Josh Allen will play by game 4, and you know what? I agree with you. I think Peterman didn't show me much last year. We'll see how. We'll give him the benefit of that. We'll see how he plays tomorrow. But I could see him losing his job in a couple weeks. Yes, absolutely. You got a kid in there. I look at it this way, guys. If you're gonna have a quarterback go in there and he's playing really, really bad for 2 or 3 weeks, and you took a #1 draft pick, to be possibly your future quarterback, why not, if you're going to have a terrible season offensively, why not just throw the kid out to into the wolves and let him just grow with the offense and with the NFL? The kid has a cannon of an arm. I mean, the kid can throw the ball 70 yards. It's fucking nuts. You know, he's just a beast. You know, I mean, as far as throwing the ball, I mean, this guy's got a cannon. He can throw the ball like, you know, almost the whole entire damn NFL field. So that's something else. You know. I love it. So yeah, as far as Mr. Nathan Peterman, yeah, I mean, good luck to him tomorrow. But I think Baltimore is going to be all over that kid. Yeah, no, you know, Jason, you're absolutely right. Allen has a big arm. Like I mentioned, the kid has a cannon. He could throw the ball 70 yards. I mean, I saw the freaking damn, you know, quarterback before the, you know, when they did the freaking training for the kids, man. He was unbelievable, man, throwing that freaking football, you know. And yeah, he's probably not ready. He's not ready to be the leader of a team in the NFL. But I look at it this way: if you're gonna have Peterman and he's gonna go out there and not get comfortable, not move the offense, not move the ball, fumble the ball, throw interceptions, man, for that you might as well just give the kid a shot and let's just let him see if he can just mold into and get comfortable in the NFL. And just basically, you know, go out there and play ball and learn as you go. You know, I could see that happening with Buffalo. It's just a shame, but that's more than likely what can, you know, is going to happen there. Josh Allen to the Cowboys for Dak Prescott. Hey, James, I know you're a Dallas fan. I remember that. I know you're a Dallas fan, and don't count out Prescott yet. Don't count him out, man. We'll see how he blends in with this. And he doesn't have a lot of weapons now, but they did get their #1 pick or their second round pick. Gallup could be a good possible play, and then you still have You still have the remaining guys that are there left, so I mean, you never know. Yeah, that can happen. As far as Josh Allen, yeah, look, I think Buffalo's doing the right thing putting in Peterman because he already has the experience. He's already been in the league for a year. But in my opinion, the guys, he will have to really come out and play well tomorrow against Baltimore. And you know what? This is a good situation with against Baltimore. Again, Baltimore is pretty balanced defensively. They're not horrific against the run. They're not horrific against the pass. So he has an opportunity that he could throw, but I think Baltimore is still just a little bit too much good defense for what the offense has in store for them in Buffalo. So Peterman is going to find out they need McCoy to really open up the doors. They definitely need to have the run game going. If they can get McCoy running, then maybe that opens the doors a little bit better, a little bit more easier for Mr. Peterman to find some receivers and hopefully get comfortable in the pocket and back there when he's passing. But if not, if they shut down McCoy and they got to put the pressure, he's got to be put under pressure to throw the football more than 25 times tomorrow to try to keep this game or to stay close. It's going to be definitely a very bad game for Peterman. Justin Jennings, he just mentioned, all right, if he's the only one on Garoppolo, Goodwin is a good receiver, man. I was looking at Garoppolo. I tell you, I was looking at it. Matter of fact, you saying that, Jason, and right in front of me, I have a list of some of the players that I was narrowing down today to see which were better plays. And I had Garoppolo here as one of those possible plays. I mean, his stats last year, 67% completion last year, 1,560 yards, 7 touchdowns. I didn't like the fact he threw 5 interceptions, but he had 260 yards per game, and he had an 80.7 quarterback rating. He was 5-0 in the 5 starts. So, yeah, he was successful with the wins, definitely like that. But again, when you go on again, and I look at it, I had put him on my list this morning when I was looking at quarterbacks. as possible, maybe some value or some, some opening up the doors to possibly some other quarterbacks that we could look at other than the three I mentioned yesterday. Garoppolo was on my list. Now I crossed them out and I went with Alex Smith, which I had mentioned before, and I also like better Case Keenum. But Garoppolo is someone you could consider here. Minnesota's weakness is their pass defense. They're very good, very solid. They're slightly a little bit, there's still like an opportunity there as far as passing that you can definitely attack Minnesota with. But Minnesota's pretty solid both ways, and I thought about it. I said, you know what? Maybe Garoppolo may have a decent game here. I just don't know if he's going to get close to his 260 yards. So that's just my gut feeling on it as far as the numbers right now. But his numbers are pretty good for a player that came in there, got traded, got into the starting lineup, and put a 5-0 record last year. Let's see if he can carry that on. So sometimes with me, my mindset and my thought is that sometimes you got to feel out a player for the first couple of games. He started and he played well to end the year last year. Let's see if he can pick up where he left off, and let's see how he plays against a good season team that was one of the best teams in the NFC last year, as well as in the NFC Championship, just right there, one step away from the Super Bowl. Now we'll see how well. So that made me definitely cross him out. I was considering him, but yeah, he's someone you can definitely consider. Why not? Why not? How high are we on Michael Thompson and Allen for the Chargers? Michael Thomas for New Orleans is one of my picks that I like for tomorrow, which I mentioned in yesterday's video. And I do like Mr. Keenan Allen. I mentioned that earlier, that I like the combination tomorrow. I did mention yesterday that I did like Phillip Rivers. The only concern with Phillip Rivers is that he did not have great success against Kansas City last year. But I am gonna kind of fade away from that, and I still mentioned when I started today's live show, I did mention that as a quarterback, I think he is someone you can definitely consider, and I like pairing him up with Melvin Gordon because he's a dual threat back as well as Keenan Allen. So that will be a nice team stack in a high scoring affair here tomorrow with Kansas City. These guys, that, like I said, this is a good game. If you just came in now, this is a good game you can stack players from. It's a good game stack game. Okay, not just team stack, but a game stack, because you can utilize two Kansas City players here. You can do a game stack right now. Boom, you could put Phillip Rivers. You could throw in there either Gordon or Mr. Kareem Hunt, and then right away go to your receivers, and you could definitely choose Mr. Tyreek Hill for Kansas City and go with Keenan Allen, and you're pretty much set with at least some players that are going to get a lot of exposure as far as a lot of targets tomorrow, in a high-scoring affair. Now, granted, that's my opinion. The odds, the lines are showing that it's going to be a high-scoring game. But at the same time, hey, we've seen it all happen, man. Nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is set in stone. Kansas City can end up having a great defensive game. Chargers can have a better defensive game. And this can be end up being a low-scoring game, or one of the teams can blow the other one out. It can happen. Any given Sunday, folks, anything can happen. Yes, I agree with you guys as well. Why they traded McCarron? The bottom line is they traded Mr. AJ McCarron because they already have Josh Allen as the player that's going to take over if Peterman is not going to be effective and efficient here. If Peterman struggles after 2 or 3 weeks, that's what's going to happen. Josh Allen is going to be thrown out to the wolves. So they're hoping that he's learning as he goes, as he's watching, he's taking notes during the course of these next 2 or 3 games. But if Peterman can at least play well enough in these first 2 or 3 games, then that'll help keep Allen on the bench a little bit longer. But something tells me that it's not going to pan out that way. Buffalo's going to get a little desperate, and they're going to end up saying, hey, you know what? The fans are going to get desperate. They're going to start shouting it out. We want Josh. We want Josh. And the next thing you know, Josh Allen is the starting quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. So yep. So anyway, guys. So this is pretty much where I'm at, man. Again, guys, if I hope I have 6 lineups that I made. I'm hoping that I hit something tomorrow. It will be nice. to start the year off that way. I mean, this is definitely very tough. GPPs with this amount of players is, really, really tough. Of course, you got some of the sharks out there too, pointing up 100, 150 lineups as well. But I mean, I love it all, man. I just love at least having the opportunity, and the least we all have is an opportunity to go in there tomorrow and possibly take down a big tournament like this. So we'll see what happens going into the 2018 season. But that's pretty much where I'm at as far as possible plays, possible value plays, team stacks, and game stacks. Remember, like I said, the game stacks, I think those are the ones that I mentioned, I think are probably the best plays, as far as Kansas City versus the Chargers, the Washington-Arizona game, and I think the Houston-New England game are probably the best games for you to target more than 3 or 4 players, because they are projected to be the highest scoring games. And that's usually the best strategy if you're going to go after players. Another strategy, obviously, is a game that's going to be fairly close. It don't have to be high scoring, but that works. That, to me, in my opinion, works a lot more effectively in the NBA or WNBA as opposed to football. And again, remember, Keith Gordon, man, what's up, man? What's up, bro? How you doing, man? Jonathan Gates got $500 into the pool tomorrow. That's nice, man. Hopefully he can make that 500 into $1 million. And that's obviously the whole idea. Like I said before, I won, yes, you can see here on my screen, I have 6 entries. Those 6 entries I won in WNBA and Major League Baseball, 10, 20 player games. So I'm going to utilize those 6 tickets, and I'm actually going to buy 10 more. So I'm actually throwing in about $100 of my own money on top of the 6 entries that I won. So I got a lot to do when I get off of here. I'm focusing on that. I got the whole Saturday night to focus on that and see what I'm going to have for tomorrow. But I like a lot of plays. I'm definitely going to have 2 or 3 core players that I really, really love. Definitely, like I said, as far as the defenses, man, I told you, New Orleans, Baltimore for me, and I think the sneaky play for the defense is definitely Cincinnati against Indy. I think that would be a nice little sneaky play there. For me, at least, that's in my opinion. I think it's not much more of a difference from Baltimore. Baltimore, I think it's 4,800, and you got Cincinnati at 4,400. So, but I think the matchup is there. Indianapolis being so bad, I could see Andrew Luck having a little bit of a rough day, and you never know. A couple turnovers will be wonderful. So I definitely am in favor of Cincinnati as lower cost defense tomorrow. On top of that, I love, like I said, Baltimore and New Orleans. Looking for 500? Oh, you want to try to win $500? Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're playing $9, if you could take one ticket, which is $9, and turn it into $50 or $100, you're still doing well. That's a good start to the NFL season. The whole objective is everybody's got it. When it comes to bankroll, for those out there, this is where I say that you can't go around and tell people 5 or 6, 7 players or whatever the case may be, because everybody is different. Everybody's different as far as what they like to play. I'm more of a GPP guy. There's a lot of players that love to do cash game, and players play cash games simply just to balance out their bankroll. But at the same time, some players play 50-50s, head-to-heads, and double up simply because that's the best thing they could afford, and they don't want to lose it all on a GPP. So if you only have $100 to play NFL for the entire season, you got to spread the love a little bit. And the best tip I can give anybody: if you have $100 and you're gonna play in NFL, you only utilize in my opinion, I would only use $20 of that money tomorrow, and then leave the doors open. Let everything, out of sight, out of mind. Don't even think about the remaining 80. You say to yourself, $20 a week until I double up my money or I make some money. That's the bottom line. I mean, that's the right way to go about it. You could go up to as much as 25 and give you 4 weeks, but I would advise anybody, just for an example, if you only had $100 in your bankroll and you're trying to build your bankroll, put $20 to play 1 or 2 GPPs, and then put the remaining money on 50-50s, okay, or head-to-head. Not so much head-to-head. I would say 50-50s and double-ups, and then start building your bankroll from there. That's what I would do, you know. And if I had $100, I would say, hey, it's $20 for this week. I'm gonna leave $20 for the following week. I'm gonna leave so now you have an opportunity to build on your bankroll utilizing $20 a week. You put in the discipline, and maybe hopefully that buys you 5 weeks of play of the NFL on Sundays, as opposed to just taking the whole 100 and saying, I'm going gun-ho on the whole $100 this week. I feel really good about it. I'm going to play $50 of GPPs. I'm going to play the remaining $50 on head-to-heads and cash games. And then if you don't win, you find yourself that you committed yourself too far. So, and it's just also it ends up being a bad routine, and then all of a sudden, but again, know how much money you have. If you really are playing with only $100, then I would say just use $20 a week. Buy 1 or 2 tickets to a GPP, okay? It don't have to be the main slate. It could be the 4 p.m. start or the 1 p.m. afternoon games only, and then hope that you win a little bit of money. And in the process of that, the remaining dollars of that 20, let's say you play 2 GPPs and they were $4 each, then you got your remaining $12 to play maybe $1 and $2 double ups and 50-50s. You know, if you do that, then you'll be okay. But if you're gonna go gun ho and put the whole 100, trust me, you're gonna lose that money in a week or two, and then you're like, oh man. But if you know for a fact that you are a player and you say, well, first thing you should say to yourself, and this is just trying to give you guys advice. First thing you say to yourself, how much money do I have to really allocate to playing DFS NFL? Before the year starts, you should already know that. To be totally honest with you, you should already know how much money you have. Do you have 300? Do you have 500? And you're gonna keep 400 in your PayPal account or something like that, and then just allocate $100 when I need it. Or do you have $1,000? So whatever that may be, you should know off the top of your head before you commit to the NFL DFS for the season on Fanduel, DK, or both. You say to yourself, how much money am I going to be playing, and I'm going to be willing to actually play with and not risk any more than that. And that should be that's the mindset that every player should have when they're playing any DFS sport. When you come to NBA next month, you got to allocate, oh, okay, $300 is going to NBA, starting with the NBA. I'm only playing with 300, and then you just break it down. Each day, just $20 or $15 or $30, and make sure you don't utilize your whole bankroll, and you should be okay. Yeah, that's what it's all about, man. You want to get returns. You don't have to play the GPPs. You could play 50-50s. You could play head-to-head. Obviously, I don't advise you to do that head-to-heads. I'm not big on head-to-head. I don't mind playing a 10 or 20-player table, so to speak, like 20 players in a tournament, in a small GPP tournament or whatever. That's fine. The 50-50s and the double-ups are probably the best suitable way for you to increase your money. It sucks when you put $2 and you only can get, $1.80 back. But I mean, now that $2 is now $3.80, and slowly but surely you build that up. But if you do that for about $10 worth of games, and you, let's say, have the same lineup and all 5 lineups win, then now all of a sudden, your $10 that you have committed that day is really up to almost $20. So I mean, so it's not too bad. So slowly but surely you can do it, but you definitely have to be disciplined in knowing what amount of money are you willing to allocate and risk every single season when you start a DFS sport. So now it's the NFL. You say to yourself, well, I got $100 for the NFL the entire year. Then my recommendation, play only $20 tomorrow worth of games, 1 or 2 GPPs, and the remaining of the dollars, use them on 50-50s and double ups. Okay, that's my recommendation. What we have here: Watson, Collins, Burkhead, Crabtree, Hogan, Shepard, Gronkowski, the Charger defense. Ooh, I don't know about the Charger defense. I think Kansas City's going to score some points on those guys. But then again, I would not be surprised if the Chargers are pretty good defending the pass. Is it the pass? I think they're 4th in the league, or they were one of the tops. I know they were tops in offense. Kansas City is definitely more vulnerable defensively on both sides of the ball as far as pass defense and run defense. So you definitely have to give the edge to the Chargers in the game, but I think that game, both teams are going to score quite a bit of points. Okay, Chargers defense, 70. Cook and Fitzgerald. Yeah, McCoy or Hill. Let's go FanDuel. I am definitely fading on McCoy. Just simply the matchup is just a little tough for him. I mean, not that he's not capable of putting up 100 yards, but he is going up against Baltimore in Baltimore, and Baltimore is going to key up on him because they could definitely want Mr. Peterman to throw the football, you know. So I like Baltimore as a defense tomorrow. They are the top defense in the slate, and I think that's more the reasons why is because they are in a very favorable position. Hill. Tyreek Hill for the for the Chiefs. Yeah, I like Mr. Hill in that game against the Chargers. I think it's going to be a little bit of a shootout, and he is definitely going to get some touches. I could see him getting at least eight targets. Gronkowski's definitely in play. He's going to get targets. Crabtree, I like for Baltimore. I did mention that a sneaky stack play, and it'll be very low owned, is having Flacco with him. And you know Flacco, man, he's like, you know, he has those moments where he could throw 2 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns. So don't sleep on him, you know. So Flacco with Crabtree is not a bad play, and then throwing in there Collins in the running back position. You got a nice little team stack there. Collins is capable of catching the ball as well. He's not a major dual threat running back like a Kamara or a DJ or a Ezekiel Elliott or Gordon or Hunt, but he at least is able and has been able to be effective in catching the football. Sir Dave, I play mostly 50-50s and double-ups. Man, good job, Dave. And little by little, you know, the bankroll will increase. So long as you continue to stay disciplined with that, your time will come where you'll be able to pull out. Remember, you play 50-50s and double-ups. You start increasing your bankroll. Slowly but surely, you can now play maybe 1 or 2 GPPs as opposed to 1. And one day, you just may pull out a GPP, even if it's for $500 or $1,000. Now your bankroll, now you got some money to play with. As soon as you can win $500 or $1,000, now at least you have some money to play with. When I played and when I won my last NBA, I think it was in April or March. I won in January. I won $4,000 on the NBA in the late night slate, and then I did it again in the late night slate about 2.5 months later, and I won another $4,000. I had tied for first in that game, but it was about 9 of us that tied for first. So unfortunately for me, instead of winning $20K, I ended up taking 4 because they combined whatever was for first, second, third, fourth, and fifth, and sixth, and divide that all up. So I ended up walking away with about 3,900 and change, something like that. But that opened the doors. You see, when and I played those nights. I'm only playing 5 or 6 lineups in GPPs and the late nights on the NBA action, and that opened the doors for me to put money aside and be able to continue to play DFS without having to put more money into my account. I only had to put money in my account just twice ever in 3 years. Twice. I started off with $100, and then I eventually made that into about $300 and some dollars, and then I got a little greedy and a little silly, like anybody who's fairly new, and this was about 3 years ago, and I blew all the money, and then eventually I had to put another $100 again, which was okay because, I mean, I was able to put the money together, and yeah, $100, I can do it. All right, so just take your time. That's what I advise. Definitely bankroll management is something that I did learn the hard way, and you know I didn't lose thousands or anything like that, so thank goodness for that. But there are people that just go crazy, so I mean, definitely do that. I did that when I had my first 100 and I built it up to 300 and change. I was like, all right, now I'm gonna go and play some bigger events, and you know what, that's not gonna pan out that well. So better, you know, put your money aside, take a portion of it and say, hey, I'm only gonna utilize 20% of my cash. That's it. Okay, Marky Mark. Marky Mark says, hey, which quarterback do you like more, Newton, Wilson, Prescott, or Alex Smith? Alex Smith. That's an easy choice for me. I like Alex Smith in a possible shootout situation tomorrow. I did discuss it earlier. I love him with his receivers, you know. I could see him and Crowder, as well as one of the tight ends, either Vernon Davis, who he has a great rapport with. They played together. They grew up playing together in San Francisco for a few years early on in their careers. And then you can't sleep on Jordan Reed, who is probably one of the better tight ends in the league. All right. And then, hey, now he has some backfield help. But Alex Smith is definitely, he's definitely solid to me, man. And he's going up against Arizona, which I mentioned before, that was 14th worst in giving up touchdowns to quarterbacks last year. They gave up 24 touchdowns, and Mr. Smith had 26 himself. So he's in a pretty favorable position against a team that is vulnerable to the pass. All right, and he was pretty effective. Arizona was pretty poor in the red zone as well as defending, so giving up almost 54% touchdowns to opponents in the red zone. I have that paperwork still in front of me, so that's the reason why it's easier for me. But I did look at all of those guys. I am a big Russell Wilson fan, but Russell Wilson is going to have to do this show with himself and Doug Baldwin. That's going to be their show. It's just going to be just them two. I just don't see it right now. The running back situation I'm not too comfortable with. But I love Russell Wilson as a dual threat quarterback. He's going to run the ball. He's going to throw. But it's going to have to be him and Baldwin. They don't even have Jimmy Graham anymore in the back as a tight end. So definitely a tough spot for Russell Wilson. And going up against Denver in Denver, I like Denver. I like Case Keenum a whole lot. Case Keenum a whole lot tomorrow with Emmanuel Sanders. I love that pairing with Mr. Freeman, the young rookie in the backfield. Jonathan Gates says he loves Cam Newton. Yeah, Cam Newton is definitely in play. We discussed him a little while ago, and I just don't know. This game against Dallas, I just think it's going to be a really low-scoring game. I don't see anything exciting between the two teams. They don't have electrifying receivers. Both quarterbacks are pretty mobile, mobile quarterbacks. They're willing to run, so I like the fact that they're kind of dual threat. They're kind of bigger, stockier dual threat. I kind of like the more athletic players that are dual threat quarterbacks, but they are definitely dual threat quarterbacks. They're capable of running with the football and dropping the shoulder. Sir Dave, yes, you're welcome, Dave, man. I'm glad you were able to stop by. Henry Boyd says he's scared of McCoy. Yeah, you should be. Henry, I'm telling you, bro, don't do it to yourself. Baltimore should be able to lock down Mr. McCoy tomorrow. That's the only person they cannot allow themselves to get beat by, because it's not going to be Peterman. Put these guys in a position. Me as the coach of the Baltimore Ravens, I would be telling them we're going to stack up the box and we're going to make McCoy either run out and get some passes, get some check down passes, get in the slot more or something, and force Mr. Peterman to throw the football. Okay? Force Mr. Peterman to throw the football. That should be the mindset. Don't let McCoy get comfortable back there and light it up and make it a difficult day for you. Now, if he's able to do that, Buffalo will still be in this game and McCoy will have a decent game. But I'm betting on, that Baltimore is going to do the right thing. They're going to try to neutralize McCoy and make Mr. Peterman beat them with his arm or with his feet. And that's when I think he's going to get into trouble, because Baltimore had 22 interceptions last year on the defensive side of the ball. That was #1 in the NFL. 22 interceptions. And this kid is capable of throwing interceptions when he is under pressure. So we'll see how he handles pressure starting his second year. We'll see. Yeah, Leonard Fournette. Well, I don't know about anybody else out there discussing Leonard Fournette. He is another dual threat running back. I'm not high on him tomorrow, but he is definitely someone in a favorable matchup. The Giants are not that good at pass defense, and their running defense wasn't that great either. So, he is definitely someone you can consider, no doubt about it. But at 8,000, I'd rather take Kareem Hunt in a more favorable matchup against a team that more than likely, Kareem Hunt destroyed the Chargers last year. His numbers were ridiculous. So until the Chargers could neutralize Mr. Hunt, which is going to be tough to do when you have, even though they have a sophomore, you could say a rookie quarterback in Mahomes, even though Mahomes is his second year, but he's a rookie quarterback as far as starting. He is a mobile quarterback. So we got to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm still waiting to see how Mahomes plays before I can judge him and decide if he is someone to consider as a dual threat running back, dual threat quarterback. But Kareem Hunt last year, look at this. 24 for 155 rushes, 155 yards on 24 carries. This particular game here, I had him in my lineup. And I had him in the lineup when he played the Chargers the first time. And he gave me 24.8 fantasy points. So until the Chargers can show me that they can stop him, and they'll get their chance tomorrow, I'm in favor of Kareem Hunt. I'd rather pay the $8,000 and take Kareem Hunt in a more favorable matchup in a game that he's gonna get touches. And the beauty of Hunt is he is a pass receiver as well. So it makes it even more easier for Patrick Mahomes to get comfortable back there knowing that he has a dual threat running back. That is critical. So now you got Mahomes, who can not only has a good strong arm, can throw the deep pass, but also can read the defense, get out of trouble, and still be able to find Mr. Hunt, who's capable of getting off the backfield and just going to the flats and really being explosive. So I mean, I'd rather go with if it's not going to be Hunt, I'd rather even go all the way up and pay $100 more and take Melvin Gordon in the same matchup against Kansas City, which Kansas City is poor on both sides of the defense, pass defense and rushing defense. All right, Henry, man, nice to see you, man. Good luck tomorrow as well, buddy. Yeah, Randy Jackson, his price is low, but that's FanDuel just enticing you to come and take him, man. Don't get fooled, man. DraftKings is saying, hey, you know what? McCoy is a nice price. Come in here and get McCoy for $7,300. All right, you'll take him. That's fine. I say I'd be totally honest with you. Instead of taking McCoy, I would rather take the guy right in front of him, McCaffrey, against the Cowboys, knowing that McCaffrey is a dual threat running back, great pass receiver, explosive. He's got great speed, okay? And he's in a position where he has a dual threat quarterback that opens the doors up for these guys. That's what makes it better, because he extends the play, Cam, and then he can still dump it to a McCaffrey crossing across on the seams on the field. And it's no different also with Kareem Hunt with Mahomes. So Leonard Fournette, excellent player. He's going to be great, and he's going to have a great season again. I just think tomorrow I would rather go with Hunt, and I wouldn't even be. I would and as far as McCoy, I'd rather go up to McCaffrey. Sir Dave, why are you going to do that to me, Sir Dave? Saying that Donald is going to be a bust. Damn. You know I'm a Jet fan, man. Sam Darnold, look, I don't know. I wasn't high on him. I follow college football. I was all over Baker Mayfield. I wanted Baker. And we got Sam Darnold. I wasn't too fond of him, but he played decent over the summer, over the preseason. Played decent. He wasn't horrible at all. He wasn't spectacular, but he better than some of the quarterbacks we've had that we have selected in the past few years. So I think he has a shot. We'll see how he does on Monday, against the Lions. Okay, we have here stacks. What stack is better? Mahomes, Hunt, and Hill, Rivers, Allen, Gordon, Dalton, Green, Ross. Wow. You bring up all the good questions there. You bring up all the good ones, Devin. I like that. And I touched on all three of these stacks already. I did. Mahomes, Hunt, and Hill, definitely love. But I am still not on board completely with Mahomes until I see him play a couple weeks. So I'm going to probably say I'm going to pass on that stack, but I think it's an excellent stack. Rivers, Allen, and Melvin Gordon is excellent in this same matchup. Like I said, this game is a good game to target because it should be a high-scoring game. So Rivers, Allen, and Gordon is probably going to be my top choice, with Dalton, Green, and Ross as my second. And as you know, I had mentioned I love Dalton with A.J. Green and, of course, with John Ross. So those two, either or, you'll be good. But I think the better chance of, as far as fantasy points and as far as the actual game being more electrifying and more high-scoring, is going to be the Kansas City Chargers game. So I will go with Rivers, Allen, and Gordon. Yeah, yeah, good for you guys over there at Cleveland, Sir Dave. Baker Mayfield, yeah. I mean, when they selected him, I was like, wow. Thanks a lot, Cleveland. Thanks a lot. But you know what? Excellent, excellent pick, man. This kid is a ball player. He's a grinder. He is a fucking beast. He's gonna be, if he stays healthy and don't get into any trouble stuff, any silly stuff, he'll be fine. Dalton, Green, and Ross is the best. Yeah, I mean, I'm not at all opposed to it. I just think that the game between Rivers, Allen, and Gordon, as far as the matchup with Kansas City being poor on both sides, defensively, I'm more inclined to say, hey, I really think that they have the better stack. But Dalton, Green, and Ross, definitely number 2 for me out of those. And I'll be frank with you, in one of my lineups, I have those 3 because I'm willing to take a stab at Dalton, Green, and Ross. I think they're in a great matchup against Indianapolis. Indianapolis, just like Kansas City, very poor, but probably even more poor defensively all around between the pass defense and the running defense. But Kansas City is poor there as well. The only thing about Kansas City is they have they have offensive weapons. And that's why they're able to at least keep up and stay close in games, because offensively they can score. Now, granted, they don't have Alex Smith anymore. Now we have to see if, that's why I'm saying that I have to see how Mr. Mahomes plays for the first 2 or 3 weeks with this Kansas City offense. And if he is as good as they think he is and as good as I've seen him play, then, down the line in the course of the season, I will probably be mentioning them as a stack. Something about the game is fishy. Well, I don't know. The only thing is that if Kansas City could come there and be as explosive, and Mahomes could be as great as possible in his first full start, starting off knowing that he's the starter for the team this season, then maybe that may be a bad choice. But right now, I mean, Phillip Rivers. Remember, again, I said this before. I'm still choosing those 3 guys because somebody asked which ones would best stack. And I'm choosing them even based on the factors that Phillip Rivers had 2 horrible games against Kansas City last year, even though Kansas City is subpar with their defense on both sides of the defense. I just still am banking that Phillip Rivers is better than what he was against this team last year. I mean, if you look at his numbers, he was horrible. I mean, quarterback. He didn't play well. Phillip Rivers against Kansas City last year, 10 fantasy points. Now, based on fantasy points, he had 3 interceptions in that last game on December 16th. Then in the first game, he was threw 40 passes, 237 yards, had another 3 interceptions. He threw 6 interceptions in 2 games. So, again, Phillip Rivers could be a complete bust again tomorrow. I'm just putting those 2 games behind me. Now, granted, I am basing this stuff on stats, and this is why I didn't give Phillip Rivers as my top 3 quarterbacks that I really like going into tomorrow. I told you I like Blake Bortles, all right, and Drew Brees, and Andy Dalton as my favorite 3. Now, granted, I know that somebody did ask regarding Dalton, Green, and Ross. If you want to play it safe, yeah, Dalton, Green, and Ross, definitely. A riskier play, but a chance to maybe even be more fantasy points. I think the upside is with the Chargers stack. That's just my opinion, and the numbers will tell you that. If you look at the numbers and you break it down, you'll see that they have the potential to put up more fantasy points. Those 3 combined in a game like this, in a higher scoring affair than Cincinnati and Indianapolis, which could be a possible high scoring affair too, but I still think that it will be Cincinnati maybe scoring 10 points more than Indianapolis. Is Rivers bad against Kansas City in past years? No. Rivers did play better against Kansas City the year before. That's for certain. All right? I didn't write those stats down, but I did check. He did play well against Kansas City in the previous years. This is why, I cannot bear it all on just what happened last year. But Kansas City definitely played him well enough last year. We'll see how it goes tomorrow. The quarterback conversation. Yeah, quarterbacks. My top three that I had on the video yesterday, my top three quarterbacks for tomorrow are Drew Brees. Definitely love Drew Brees tomorrow, and I love Andy Dalton and Blake Bortles. I did discuss today that after further review, I definitely gave everyone at least two more additional quarterbacks that I think will be fantastic plays tomorrow, and one of them is Alex Smith. All right. I think he's in a good position in a possible high-scoring game as well against Arizona. And I also like Case Keenum for Denver versus Seattle with that no longer Legion of Boom. The best play for 6,200 on FanDuel flex play. Like I said earlier, somebody asked which way we will go with the flex. Would I go more wide receiver? If I had any thought on that, and I basically going to say the same thing to you. You choose whoever has the best upside in a GPP for that price, and that has probably the more favorable matchup. So when I look at this, if I'm going at, you said 6,200. Let's take a look here. And then if I have to look over some statistics, I'll do that too, just to help you out. 6,200. Wow, I wish you had 6,300 because I love Emmanuel Sanders. I threw him in there today in the conversation as far as wide receivers that will probably have a good game tomorrow. 6,200. All right, so you have Lewis, Crowder, Chris Thompson, Ted Ginn, Garcon, Delaney Walker. Okay. This is a good one. This is a good one. Like I said, I like Alex Smith tomorrow as a possible play, and if you're gonna team him up with somebody, you got to have him throw to one of his receivers. So you got Jamison Crowder, and you also in the backfield you got Chris Thompson. I'm not in favor of Chris Thompson because I don't know if Chris Thompson is gonna definitely split time with Adrian Peterson, which I believe he will. I don't know which one of the backs as of right now is starting, so I'm not going to go that direction as far as running back. As far as the running backs at 6,200, there's really the only one that I would be intrigued with, and I mentioned him before when I discussed running backs as a possible sleeper tomorrow, is the rookie Royce Freeman for Denver in a situation against Seattle, which they are not the same Seattle team anymore, including in the front line. So as well as Seattle was favorable with as far as their statistics last year, they're not the same team this year. So I'm basing it on how they look now as opposed to how they looked last year. And Mr. Freeman being a rookie, being excited and starting his first game and knowing that he's going to be the leading back on this team with Devontae Booker probably coming in short yardage situation, possibly. I think they're going to try to feel the kid out and see if he is a 3-down back. So Freeman would not be a bad sneaky play there at 6,000. You save yourself $200. I don't know if that helps you somewhere else. And if you're looking at receiver, you will probably have to take a dive at Mr. Crowder in a situation where he's going to probably be the lead receiver for the Redskins for Alex Smith. I do also like the Redskins tight ends in this matchup against Arizona. So 62, you got Dion Lewis here. I don't know if he's going to play a whole lot there. I think Tennessee is definitely going to gear themselves up to have Mr. Henry run the ball more, and Dion is going to come in maybe in some short yardage situations. So I wouldn't go unless Mr. Henry is below that price. No, I don't think so. Another guy I like at that low price, if you're going to take anybody else, I mean, Carlos Hyde against against Pittsburgh. I have mentioned he was one of my plays for this week that I really like at that price. And I also like Mr. Rudolph. So you got some plays there. He's begging best play. Yeah, that's a tough one. Like I said, I think Rudolph is in a good situation, being a great red zone receiver. with upside. He definitely gets a lot of, I think he had like 8 touchdowns in the red zone. Carlos Hyde is in a good spot too. Also a great red zone player too if Cleveland can move the ball. But then my concern with that is giving you Carlos Hyde, and the weather is not that great in Cleveland tomorrow, as of we know right now. It's going to be windy and pretty bad. So I still think that that's more of a reason why they should run Carlos Hyde more. So that's why I am choosing him anyway. I put him in there as one of my top 4 running backs. But I would say, man, you got a couple plays here, man. You also have here Philip Dorsett in a favorable matchup against Houston. It's going to be a shootout, and Tom Brady is going to look for Hogan and Dorsett as his 2 key receivers other than Gronkowski. So, I mean, so that's not a bad play at 5,900. And I love the matchup because Houston is 24th defensively defending against the pass, while New England is 30th. So, I mean, we're not going to see much defense here. This is a matter of who is going to make the most mistakes. And it's going to come out either the quarterbacks or one of the running backs making a mistake. But as far as receiver, or one of the receivers making a mistake, but I think he's in a favorable matchup as well. I would probably say Hearns, because Hearns is probably going to be the lead receiver for Dallas going into starting the season. But I just think this is going to be a low-scoring game. I would rather I would look at the numbers, and I would probably say, obviously, the best bet is to go with Dorsett. I can't see New England and Houston having a 10-6 game, you know? So that's the way I'm looking at it there. But Freeman, like I said, Freeman here as a flex play at 6,000, I think he's good. You got Mr. Dorsett for New England. I think you have Carlos Hyde, and I think you have Kyle Rudolph. I think those are the best 4 that I can think of. And if I'm gonna lean to anybody right now, I will go with Philip Dorsett, simply because of the game itself being a possible shootout, and he's gonna get some targets. And he's also one of those guys that gets those deep those long touchdowns, man, you know, Dorsett. Now if you had enough money, you could have gone with New England's Hogan, but Hogan is definitely priced a little higher. I mean, Hogan is way up here. Yeah, Chris Hogan is at 6,700. Okay, Freeman, Hogan, Chargers. Hogan or the Chargers? As far as, I don't get the question. So you want to know if Hogan is a better player or the Charger defense? I would not go the Charger defense. I think when you have enough there to pay for defense. I would say if the Chargers are the same price, let me see here. If that's what you're asking. The Saints are 4,600. The Chargers are 4,300. If you have enough to pay for Cincinnati, I think Cincinnati would be a nice sneaky play. I mentioned that earlier. Cincinnati is one of my 3 teams that I like for tomorrow as far as defense. So Cincinnati, I'm favoring Cincinnati, New Orleans, and Baltimore for sure tomorrow. Chargers, you know, they had some moments last year where they were very, very terrific. I just don't know, man. They're going up against Kansas City. Kansas City is offensive, you know. They're an offensive-minded team, man. These guys likes to throw up points. That's a really tough matchup for the Chargers to have a big game. You know, as far as you know that everybody starts with 10 points here, and they're gonna lose those 10 points. I think Kansas City's gonna score points. They're gonna have, when you're looking at something like this, you got to look to see if they are capable of, and then you go into you do some research and you look to see if they have had a lot of interceptions and a lot of fumbles. And then you match it up. But out of all the numbers, and I did crunch those numbers, the best numbers that I like were Cincinnati's, Baltimore's, and New Orleans. Oh, which one is better together? Freeman, Ravens, D, or Sanders, Saints, or Hogan with the Chargers? Ooh, wow. Ravens, D, or Sanders and the Saints. Those are 2 excellent. The first 2 I really love. The Royce Freeman with Baltimore Ravens, definitely like that one. And I'm definitely okay. I'm definitely okay with Sanders. Emmanuel Sanders with the Saints D, definitely like that as well. Which one has the better upside? I'm going to say the better upside for tomorrow is going to be Sanders with the Saints. I think Sanders is going to get 8 to 10 touches. I think he's going to be targeted quite a bit with Case Keenum, and I think the Saints are in position here to be able to play defensively well enough to make Mr. Fitzpatrick cough up that ball a little bit, and they're going to be some additional fantasy points there defensively. The Ravens are going to be in the same spot, and then right now, as much as I like the rookie Freeman, we don't know how he's going to be for the first NFL game. So if you're going to ask me to put, you're going to put me in that position, I will have to say the best choice is Sanders and the Saints. Ben Watson as a sneaky tight end play. Ah, man, I don't know, man. Sneaky tight end play. When I was looking at tight ends, I thought Eric Ebron would be a sneaky play. Looking out at the bottom, I mean, the best plays, man, to me, it's the ones I gave. I really love Zavarian Jenkins, and I love Jesse James here against Cleveland with no Le'Veon Bell. Big Ben is going to throw the ball. He's going to spread the floor out, the field out really well. And I can see Jess James, and he's a nice target for him, especially in the red zone. So, I don't know. I'm just leaning towards Jess James and Jenkins. Definitely Vernon Davis with Alex Smith. Could be an awesome combination there. But then again, Jordan Reed should be starting. But also keep in mind, Washington loves to play that dual tight end, as well. So at times, so definitely Vernon Davis is one of those receivers. And then that is it. There's nobody there really, really low, cheap. I would say the lowest here is Davis. Tyler Kroft had a great year last year, but he was obviously getting a lot of action because Tyler Effort was out for quite a while with an injury, pretty much almost the whole year. And he is back, Tyler. So he may be a sneaky play tomorrow. Don't fall asleep on Tyler Effort for Cincinnati. Sanders and the Saints. Yeah, like I said, I love Sanders and the Saints. If you're going to break down those three, I definitely like those. Jesse James has a back issue? Oh, boy, that's not good. Well, I mean, that is good news as far as telling me that. But I'm all over Mr. Rudolph. I love Rudolph the best. As you know, when I did the video yesterday, I told you guys my first tight end was Rudolph. I think he's in a good spot here. Good, the San Francisco poor in the red zone and also fairly poor defensively against the pass last year, 22nd overall. I definitely like Kyle Rudolph here. And then with his new quarterback, Kirk Cousins, that should be okay. But, again, Tyler Effort here, Jack Doyle, these guys are all possible good plays. Tampa Bay loves throwing over to Mr. Cameron over here, but there's no Jameis Winston there, so I just don't know. I would not take a chance with him. Charles Clay is a pretty decent tight end also for Buffalo, but again, I'm not on Buffalo at all. I would not take that chance. I think the best bet, guys, is to stick with Rudolph, Reed. Tyler Effort would not be a bad play, and down here at the bottom, Ebron for Indianapolis. And yeah. And I love Jess James, but if he is hurt, they don't have nothing here. But if he has a back issue and they don't play him much, that would not be a great play. I haven't made my decision yet on James if I'm going to use him in any of my lineups. I have been leaning more towards Rudolph and Zavarian Jenkins due to the matchups. Yeah, the Colts are, Murphy. The Colts are just I don't know, and even and Andrew Luck has not looked great either. So I don't know what the Colts are gonna do. And again, any given Sunday, anything can happen. So who knows? Who knows? Who knows if Andrew Luck all of a sudden tomorrow out of nowhere plays so well? But I'm banking on Cincinnati tomorrow. Yeah, you see, with Doyle and Ebron, you can go either way. I think, there's no doubt that Jack Doyle is the leading tight end for Indianapolis. It's been Andrew Luck's best tight end for a while now. He has a great connection with him, great rapport. They definitely play well with one another. So I definitely would think he's going to go with Doyle more. but I'm not on any of those guys. I think, as far as price, man, I rather, tight ends is an area that I normally keep the price down. I like to pay down a little bit on tight end. In a small slate like the at 4 o'clock game or the Sunday Monday slate like that, if I have a Kelsey or a Gronkowski and I think they're the best play, even if I feel they're going to be a little chalky, I would rather be in it. I know I can find value somewhere else to pull down and make some money, but a big slate like this, you might as well pay up. I'd rather pay down a little bit on quarterbacks, pay down a little bit on tight end, and maybe be in a mid-tier defense, depending on how low I do go on a quarterback or tight end. And that opens up the door for us to be able to target some stud receivers and some stud running backs in favorable matchups. Yeah, Bortles. Yeah, Bortles is definitely in play for me tomorrow. I love him. I do love Zavarius Jenkins with him against the Giants. I think he's going to know that the Giants do have difficulty there covering tight ends. So I see Mr. Jenkins getting some targets. And I definitely like the way he has connected with Westbrook as well as Cole. And I'm leaning more towards Cole just simply because of price. But yeah, so I'm leaning towards them more so because of that. All right, guys, do you have 4 p.m. slates at all? No, at the moment I do not. And to be honest with you, I am gonna, when I get off here now, I'm gonna look at the 4 o'clock slate, and I'm gonna definitely decide on some lineups for myself. It may be something that I may touch up on as we go on through the season. As far as live shows, I may want to do maybe 2 separate sessions, discuss the early slate for those who are not playing main, because there's a lot of people that don't play the main. I don't play. I'd be totally honest with you guys. When it comes to NBA, MLB, any of these things, only WNBA, because there's only 12 teams and you only have 2 to maybe as many as 3 games in any given night. So you could definitely just break down the slate really well. But when you have a big slate like this, 12 games, it makes it very difficult to put all the information you need together. It takes a lot of work, so it makes it very difficult as far as breaking down which players you really want to really target. I prefer myself personally, as far as a player, I love playing smaller slates, 3-4 games. So I definitely would like to play the 4 o'clock games. I definitely break down the NFL. I do play more 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. separately than I play mains. I definitely will play a main 1 or 2 because you definitely want to take a crack at the big money. But at the same time, there is very good money also in a 4 o'clock slate and in a 1 o'clock slate, and even on a Sunday Monday or a Monday Thursday. So take advantage of those as well. I do the same thing in the NBA. If it's a large slate, more than 6 or 7 games, I probably fade the main slate. I'll discuss it in my videos, but I will not probably play much at all. Maybe 1 game or 2 GPPs, very small, and take a shot at it, and then basically really stack up on 4, 5, 6 lineups on their after hours slates or the later slates. So I do the same thing with football, and like I said, same thing in the NBA. But I mean, that may be something I may consider doing as part of the show as I get acclimated with doing live shows with the NFL. Maybe those are things that will change up and be able to help most of you guys out, if that's what you guys wish to have. Yeah, don't buy into Mr. Connor in that game against Cleveland. The only person I really like in the Cleveland-Pittsburgh game is probably Carlos Hyde. Now, granted, if that was great weather, you definitely could consider Taylor as well as Gordon or even Landry. We know those guys are just very, very dangerous. Just those 2 receivers alone. He's really got some nice weapons there now. Tyrod Taylor, which he did not have in Buffalo, and he was decent quarterback in Buffalo. He should be even a better quarterback here. All right, guys, man. Well, I'm going to wrap it up here, man. It's getting late. I am very hungry. I can't believe I've been on here for like 2 hours and change. Wow. I said I'll come on, do a live show, feel everybody out. I'm glad that I was able to interact with some of you. I'm glad to see a lot of my WNBA followers follow me with the NFL. We'll get better. Things will get better. I will have always more information as well as we go. As we build up the season, we're going to get more of a grasp and more of an idea of where players are at this year. But just keep in mind that as we go forward in the next 2 or 3 weeks, all statistical data, all information that I come up with is going to be coming out of last year's statistics and I'm going to base it on those things as well as we move along during the course of the season. But other than that, man, I hope you guys please drop a like on the live stream. Very, very important for me, for my channel, as those people for the WNBA know. And of course, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe, and don't forget to put on those notifications. It's very important. I've had people say, "Oh man, I noticed you had a live show," and I let them know, "Hey, you know what? Did you have your post notifications on?" And they realize no, they didn't. So just get them on. This way, as soon as a new video is up or anything that I put up, you'll get it right away, and then you will have that opportunity to decide if you want to join the live show and see what's going on, or be able to watch my actual videos when you see fit. Yes, Jonathan, thank you. Yes, thank you, Gary, for being here. Good luck to you, Sir Dave. No problem, Nick, man. I appreciate you guys coming on. No problem, James, man. Good luck tomorrow as well. Everybody, a lot of luck. Hey, if anybody nails down anything, please share. Comment down tomorrow on this same video or yesterday's video and let me know, hey, you know what, I just nailed down $1,000, or even if you won $1 million, let me know. It will be great to know. There's somebody I was just talking to and actually trying to give advice to actually went out and won some big money. All right. Devin Washington, yes, man, good looking out there, Devin, man. Yes, guys, there is DFS Zone Fanduel 20-player tournament that I started like a week and a half ago during the WNBA playoffs, and Devin did tell me that we only have like 9 or 10 players in there right now, and it's a 20-player, $5 commitment per week. You get a chance to win. Top 3 players have a chance to win $45 for first place every week. It's just a good way to build your bankroll. I also do it because I want to build a relationship and a good rapport with my viewers who come out and watch and support my videos. And at the same time, at the end of the year, the top 8 players out of that league will play in the playoffs with the playoff teams, and we'll crown a champion, and the one who wins will get a prize from me. Don't know exactly yet. I know James Perkins mentioned something like Nick tickets, but not everybody's from New York, so maybe something different, but that's definitely something good. If it happens to be a New York player who wins, then maybe we'll consider that. All right, but other than that, man, drop a like on the live stream, man. I appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel. Wish everybody a lot of luck, and my next video will be up hopefully by Tuesday, so look for that for next week's week 2 video then. All right, guys, everybody, God bless. Have a great night. Yeah, 10 spots left. Let's go. Get in there, guys. We need 10 players. 10 players, $5 a week commitment. Could possibly win $45 a week. Build up your bankroll. Thank you for that, Devin. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Definitely. That's pretty much it, guys. Good luck tomorrow, man. God bless, and I'll see you guys. Next video will be possibly Tuesday. All right. Have a good night.